Fabulous. Happy New Year. We're live. Yeah, don't. I like your penguin behind you there, Barry.
Yeah. It's one of the nice things my mother made.
Oh yeah, what's it made out of? Was it like a macaroni thing, or what is it?
What do they call it? Needle point. It's like a needle plastic canvas thing that she threaded with yarn.
Cool.
Needle.
Very
I think
cool.
it's called needle point. I'm not 100%.
Well, needlepoint is the one where they have the like the stretched canvas, and you do the thread back and forth and
That's
back
what
and
that
forth.
is. Yeah.
So that's what that is.
Yeah, but she did all the sort of. She did the crocheting and the the doily things and all that nonsense.
My mom used to do needlepoint all the time, like crazy all the time. No, not so much anymore. I think like the eyesight, it gets tougher to find that little tiny spot as you get older and stuff like that. Hey, there's Richard Ham coming in. We'll add him in. He's got no camera apparently, but whatever.
Oh shoot. Oh drat. Why is that?
I don't know. You tell me.
He's in the void of darkness.
All right.
He's gone to the dark side.
Microphone. What is the problem with you, Magoo?
Be with me. Be with me.
Hey, did you see that? Kabuki Kid was just at someone's house and they were playing Delve.
Oh. I am going to hang up and come back in and try to reset my camera. I'm not sure what's up with that. I'll be back. Mo, do keep an eye out for me.
Adios.
That's nice.
I was going to ask, did anybody get any games for Christmas?
I didn't get games for Christmas, but I got like 3 deliveries from Kickstarters the week of Christmas.
Oh, what'd you get?
I got Kung Fu Panda from Odysseus.
Okay.
I got In the Hall of the Mountain King from Burnt Island Games.
Excellent.
And I picked up a copy of Vindication from a website selling the Kickstarter slightly marked. It wasn't even really. It was a retail pledge. So it was like maybe $10 more than what the Kickstarter pricing was. And that's going to get here end of this week.
So not that I'm trying to give free pub or anything to anybody, but the guys that made Orange Nebula, the people that made Vindication, they've got a game. It's on its last week on Kickstarter called Unsettled, which is I just got it like a week ago. I've been able to play it once. I'm going to try to play it again tomorrow by myself, and then I'm going to do a video for it. That game is amazing.
How's Vindication? Have you played Vindication yet?
Vindication is the people, Mark and Tom and all the other people at Orange Nebula, they try to make games that are different from what other so Vindication was kind of like Vindication was totally like a game that wasn't like any other games. It had some like mechanisms and what have you that were very much like what you'd find in other games, but like the story and the process that Vindication was. I mean, the idea was that like basically you were this horrible human being that got thrown off this boat and you washed ashore on this foreign land and you needed to personally rectify your soul and achieve vindication like that's not what vindication means. Well, no, but that's what the premise of the board game was.
No, the premise of the game is you seek redemption, which is what the game used to be titled, and then they had to change it, and they changed it to Vindication. For me to be vindicated is to say that all the ills, all the wrongs I did were actually in the right because I am vindicated for my past sins. To be redeemed for my past sins is what you actually do in the game. It drives me nuts.
So the always pedantic Richard Ham stepping in. So there are things that like I think though that when people are talking about like that as vindication or whatever, they understand the layman term of it or what have you that allows them to understand what they were going for. I think we can agree as far as that goes, right?
I think they should have kept the name Redemption and just put a subtitle in so it could have stood on its own from whatever other game they were concerned about. Because vindication is the act of clearing someone of blame or suspicion.
Well,
and yes, I suppose that is kind of what you do in the game, but it's not the theme of the game. The theme of the game is I was wrong and I'm trying to make amends. And the
original name was, when I played it, the game was called Epoch. Was what the name of the game was called.
Yes, Epoch is a much better title as well. That's right. Yeah, it was Epoch that they had to change for whatever reason, and I guess they just felt that Redemption wasn't available. But it hardly matters anyway. Sorry, that's what's in a name. A rose by any name would spell as sweet. So please continue with the game. You
need to play. You and your wife need to play Unsettled. You would love that game.
Yep, it's on my list, and they're right down in Portland. I probably should contact them. I don't know if they've forgiven me for kind of being down on Vindication, though.
Oh, you didn't like it?
No, I liked it quite a bit, but I liked it when I was playing the rules wrong. And when I found out the correct rule, I liked it a bit less. I thought it was just kind of okay. I was a bit disappointed. So that was one problem. And then I was really, every time I think about how they handle their customer service on Board Game Geek, it just drives me nuts. And so, yeah,
explain to me why. Explain to me why.
They adopted the Gloomhaven model of saying, you know what, we're just going to have one thread in the rules section of Board Game Geek. If anybody has any rules questions, just post to this one thread and we'll answer them. And what that means is people coming along later who have a question have to dig through a 20-page single thread to try to find first what the question was, and then 2 or 3 pages later what the answer is. As opposed to the way Board Game Geek is supposed to work, where every question has its own thread, so they are easy to find and you can use the search system well. And if people have follow-up questions based on the original question, they can ask them, as opposed to the big mega thread. It drove me absolutely insane. It drives me nuts that they do that for Gloomhaven, because for the longest time, there was so much really important designer answer stuff in Gloomhaven that you could only get if you dug through the deepest, longest thread on the entire site, and it was absolutely insane. So, I mean, I like them. They are lovely, wonderful people. I mean, heck, they were willing to donate to help you kind of rebrand, and they helped Aldi rebrand and whatnot. Although I guess for some people, that's the nail in the coffin right there, since they are responsible for Bernie. Let's not forget.
Oh, rest in peace, Bernie.
What? We still got Bernie?
No, rest in peace, Ernie.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We hardly knew you, Ernie.
Yeah.
Stand aside for Bernie.
Well, I'll just tell you right now that Unsettled is really unlike any other game. I mean, it definitely it's an incredible, cool idea, right? And then and it just has so many different ways they can go, because the whole idea is that no real big backstory, but you're just plopped onto this planet, and the planet's trying to kill you in some way, and you have to figure out why this planet's trying to kill you, how it's trying to kill you, and how you're going to combat what it's doing. There's a lot of narrative. There's a lot of background. I think the base game, like if you back it on Kickstarter right now, like I think it's going to come with 5.
Is it live on Kickstarter right now?
Oh yeah, it's got a week left.
Oh my!
It'll have like 5 planets, I think, when it comes out, and they're talking about then releasing later on this year. They're going to release more planets for it. And see, this goes back to one of my original thoughts. People always say things like, it's like, I can only play this like 6 times, or I can only play this 8 times. Well, most people never play their board games more than a half a dozen times at most, right? So like if you get a game and it's got 5 planets, that's 5 distinct plays that you're going to get. And it's not legacy. I mean, you can go back and play the planet again. I just think it's kind of like time stories, like the narrative behind the planet is gone, and that's kind of what I think people are going to be excited about, is the opening up the thing. I was thinking about this, so like I think every year there's usually a game that everybody talks about, like, oh, that's like that one game that everybody is like, like when people talk about a movie that's like critically acclaimed, but maybe doesn't like sell a bajillion, like it doesn't make $1 billion in the box office. There's usually board games that like people say, oh, that's that one game that like people say they play, and then yeah, that's really a fantastic game. And then like Vast was that game. Like lots of people said this is like a crazy cool game, but it didn't. I mean, it still did well, but I mean, it probably did. I'm probably talking out of my ass right now, but but it didn't. It wasn't like a mass market designer board game, right? So like it didn't have, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 copies of the game sold. But like Seventh Continent would be that thing. That's the game people talk about. They're like, oh, that's that one game. That's really, really cool game, right? But most people probably never play it, right? Because of whatever reason. And I think Unsettled's kind of going to be like that. I think people are going to be like, this game is really awesome. But people are going to be like, oh, well, I didn't get on the Kickstarter, and I didn't get all the special bonuses and everything like that. So now I'm, nah, that's okay. I'm not going to buy the retail version or something. Hold on, I got a dog wants to go outside. You can respond to that, and I'll listen.
Don't. How are you listening? You just get your headphones off.
No, I can. Hold on. But I mean,
it's a trick. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. No.
But yeah, there's no declaration of it being a trap in Last Skywalker. Spoilers.
Oh yeah. Well, no.
Rise.
I'm going to say right now that like this will be our Rise of Skywalker discussion episode.
That's why I'm here.
So if
the only reason he's here.
No, so
I don't blame him.
So people like right now, this is your moment to like, if you haven't seen the movie, come back to this episode later if you want to listen.
You probably should have put it in the video's title. That
I did. I said right. I said in the description it says a critique of the Rise of Skywalker.
You did do it in the critique. Yes, you did.
Yeah. So I mean, there's that.
Should we save that for last then, since that will probably egg on the most debate?
No. We can dive into that. I was just wondering, did anybody get any games for the holiday? I got Blitz Bowl, which I'm really excited about because it basically takes the fun of a Blood Bowl and like condenses it down really.
That's
well.
The Barnes and Noble exclusive one, right?
The
easy mode or learn to play version of Blood Bowl.
Yeah, but I mean, Blood Bowl is one of those games where it's like it's almost better to play Blood Bowl online, like buy it off Steam for the $10.
I have it on Steam. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's because you don't have to do any of the figuring out. Like you don't have to do any of the dice rolls. You don't have to do anything. The game figures out like how you can get to a certain spot and like avoiding the tackle zones or what it's going to do. So the AI kind of takes over. What I hope they do is, because the new Blood Bowl rules for the re-release of the board game are way better than what the Blood Bowl computer game uses. So I'm holding out hope that like the same company will like do like a Blood Bowl 3rd edition computer game. I doubt it'll happen, but I can always dream, right? I can always hope. So, I mean, me and Rob Oren, we used to play Blood Bowl, like he'd get off work and he'd call me. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna be home. Let's have a Blood Bowl game," and we just play online, laugh at each other. It was good stuff. So there you go. Anything else? Any games?
Nope, just what I told you. Just the stuff that I told you I got.
Yeah.
I got the Funko Pop Batman game.
Oh yeah, Funkoverse.
Funkoverse, yeah. I haven't played it yet, but you kind of got me that.
It's fun. I'll leave it at that. The game. I mean, as long as you don't take it super seriously, the game's just fun.
How
the
can
Funko
you take someone over stuffed head seriously?
Well, yeah, it's just like you have like Rue McClanahan fighting Batman. You just like, okay, let's you totally need to kind of take a step back and just relax, as far as that's concerned. But what about you, Richard? Did you buy any? You don't buy any games for yourself ever, do you?
I don't buy games, and we don't really celebrate Christmas either.
You heathen.
Yep. Well, we don't have kids, and Jen decided many years ago that it was too much of a pain in the ass to go shopping for me.
Well, my wife said that about
one day. Do we need to keep doing all this gift buying? Isn't it kind of a pain? By which she meant it's a pain for me. And I said, yes, let's stop. Think of all the money we'll save. And it's worked out great ever since. And my cold, dead Scrooge-like heart. There you have it.
Yeah, my wife says I'm impossible to shop for as well. But she did find me a vintage Santa suit, like basically from the 1960s, a department store Santa velvet suit. And yeah, I was like, this is awesome. You can find me on, if you go on my Facebook, you can see I took it. She had me put it on. So that was like, definitely you could kind of smell the gin and cigarettes in it, the department store Santa. But yeah,
what are you wearing? Red velvet.
I just gotta hope like this, my little stripe here. I just gotta hope that like more of that like expands out, so that I can be. I've always said if my beard ever goes gray or white or whatever, I will go and try to. I will apply or whatever it is you need to do to be like the department store Santa, because
I believe you just have to show up drunk and you're hired.
Well, you see, because there was a gentleman in my church that he was the department store Santa guy, and so like and I've told this story before, so I apologize, but he would go and he'd sit there and the kids would come and he'd do the whole thing, and then like when like Santa has to go feed his reindeer, that's what they always says, when Santa's gone. Oh, sorry, kids. Santa, it's his lunch break, basically. But he wouldn't disappear. He'd have his full Santa outfit on, and he looked the part, full red, like big white beard, like the spectacles, the big boots, the whole 9 yards. And he went and walked around the mall, and he would like, and if children saw him, they'd come up and like he had like a in his pocket, he had like a bunch of like, just hard candies, like root beer barrels or whatever. And so kids would see him and they come up and he'd give them a root beer barrel and stuff. And he just kind of walk around. But what he would do is he would walk around and look for people that didn't look happy, like look for adults that didn't look happy around Christmas. And he would go and he'd just sit down and he'd talk to them and ask them what was wrong, and he would just say, it's like, oh, and I remember, and I distinctly remember I was sitting in like when B. Dalton Bookseller was a thing, and I'm like a 14-year-old kid, and like too old and jaded to be all in love with the whole Santa Claus thing, but I knew this guy, but I saw him, and there was this woman, and she was sitting in the mall, and she was crying. She's like in the middle of the mall, and she's crying, and he went down and he sat down next to her, and she kind of like looked over and like. And then he kind of just looked at her and he winked at her and she started to laugh. And then he reached into his pocket and he handed her a root beer barrel. And then he sat there and he talked to her for like a half an hour about whatever, and it was just like, and he was just basically, his attitude was, you shouldn't be sad on Christmas. And like, and he would always try to help out. And when he passed away, it was standing room only for him at the funeral. It was, people were lined up outside to pay their respects. It was he was a really, really awesome dude. And whenever I thought about it, and when he finally gave up being Santa, I remember people asked him, he's like, well, why did you stop doing it? And he's like, did you, health or something? He's like, no, he said it got too sad, because he said it was too often. Now he was more and more children would come up and they'd say, they'd like, what do you want for Christmas? He's like, I want you to convince Daddy to move back in the house. Or can you have can you get Mommy to stop drinking, and he was just like, to them I'm this magical person that could change their lives, and he's like, but I couldn't, and it was just like, it used to be like 1 in 100 kids would say something like that, and but now he said it was like more like 1 in 20 would say something just heartbreaking to him. And he just said, it was just too sad. He said he just couldn't do it anymore. So, which sucks. And that's kind of for the end of the story. But ever since I heard that about him, and I remember I read they did a big write-up about him in the paper once. But I always said, that guy had the right attitude. And I'm sure most department store Santas have the right attitude about it too. But I've always thought that would be really, really cool. Just one time, right? And the thing is, I had my next door neighbor down at my parents' lake cabin. Like he was just walking around the mall one day, and he had the full white beard, and he was just walking, and people just approached him, and they asked him if he was available to be Santa that Christmas. Like, and I'm like, okay, I just gotta let the beard, and then I just go to the mall and walk around until hopefully these people approach me too. I don't think it works that way. That was like a 1 in a million shot. But anyway, enough about that. Enough about Santa. Anyway, do we just want to dive into the Rise of Skywalker now that I brought everybody down? do we want to like dive into Rise of Skywalker? Has everybody? I mean, okay, Barry, have you seen the movie?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Pete, I know you have. Richard, I know you have.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it twice. Once I went to watch, and once I went to take notes.
Oh, you're going up on me.
Oh boy, it's gonna. I'm not feeling so good. I think I'm gonna go to bed early.
Yeah.
So,
frick say I didn't know we were supposed to do freaking homework.
Yeah, but I have watched, and I have watched all of
your single line essay, 2 pages.
Jesus,
you should have known.
I have watched all of The Mandalorian as well. So
yeah, I have as well.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, have you done that, Richard? Richard, have you watched all of Mandalorian?
I have seen all of the Mando.
Okay, so we will. So I think that's fair game as well at this point. So we will probably talk about Mando. Which, whenever you hear Mando, can't you don't want to say Lando? Whenever I hear that, but whatever. All right. So first, I'd like I will just say my first initial thoughts of the movie was a solid B, and then I got home and I reduced it to a B minus.
Oh my!
And then because I thought about it for a while, and then upon further viewing and consideration, it is now a C minus. So that is my letter grade for the movie. Yeah, no. I mean, it is an end to a series. But I have many issues when I think about this, and I don't necessarily blame J.J. Abrams for it. I blame a lot of things.
Ryan Johnson, don't you?
Well,
Ryan Johnson is getting so much shade thrown at him for all the crap that's happened because everyone's saying the problems with Rise of Skywalker are to try to fix the stuff from Last Jedi. Which a lot of people are just saying it's because they were forced into a corner. That's why the movie was so mixed reviews from so many people.
Well, I would just like, for starters, I would like just a letter grade. Letter grade. I got C minus. Pete, what do you got for a letter grade?
C plus.
C plus. Barry, what do you got?
Yeah, probably I'm with Pete. C plus.
C plus. Okay. Hey, yeah. Forrest is here. Forrest, can you hear us?
He's fucking in space.
Oh, he's here.
Yeah,
he's in his own world.
Richard, give me your letter grade.
A D minus, only because it has phenomenal production values, and John Williams can never go wrong. But everything else.
Did you see John Williams' cameo?
Everything it shows is fine. Everything it says is not.
I saw John Williams' cameo. Yes,
John Williams' cameo was cool. Yeah. If you didn't know, I didn't know. If, for those of you who don't know, John Williams has a small scene in the movie, which was cool. Yeah. I think that's the first time he's actually been in the movie.
He was in something else.
He's been in any movie.
He was in something else, and he even had like he had one line in a movie. I forget what movie, but it was a movie that he did the soundtrack for, and he was just in briefly, and he had like one little line that he said. I forget what it is though.
Here he doesn't even have a line. It's one of those blink you'll miss it kind of things.
Yeah. He was the bartender.
Forrest, have you seen Rise of Skywalker?
I have seen Rise of Skywalker.
Okay, so we are in full Rise of Skywalker discussion, critique, and we will also be doing massive spoilers. So
and we need a letter grade from you, Forrest. We're starting
letter
off
grade.
With that.
You must establish your bona fides.
D plus.
D plus, like D as in dog plus.
D as in dumb.
D as in dumb. All right. So I will do. I want this to be round table, but
we need somebody here who's positive and upbeat. Who's going to play the me role?
Where's Aldi?
Yeah, get
Aldi will
Aldi.
be that role, I'm
Well,
sure.
Aldi loves it.
Aldi.
He loves everything.
Well, yeah, we'll wait. We have to have Scott in here. I mean,
He's got the flu. He's not
Scott
coming
Vaughn.
in.
He
I
thinks
think
the flu is coming. He won't make it in
this-
tonight.
This guy is always sick. What
Scott, what is your letter grade for Last Skywalker?
Yeah,
Yeah.
give us your letter grade in chat, please.
Letter grade in chat for Rise of Skywalker. As a matter of fact, everybody who's listening right now, go ahead and post their letter grades. Let's
Yeah,
just see
let's
what
get
people-
let's get everyone's
I would-
opinion.
Just give us your letter grade for Rise of Skywalker.
I want to say
Yeah.
moving the new computer that you sent, Lance, and I want to give a huge thanks to Andy. Right? Is it Andy? Andrew?
Yeah, Andrew. Andrew Johnson is his name, but he's like Taekwondo.
C minus
Andrew.
from Aldi,
Thank you
C
very much.
plus from
Andrew. I
Kabuki,
really appreciate it.
C from Paul Tompkins, a C from Kyle Seeley, a B minus from James Brazil. It's all kind of
wow.
right in that range. C minus to or D plus to B to C minus. C plus.
We have a B plus.
See, I
Oh.
think this could easily be a B or
Give him a 4. You got to get
the
on.
extended version.
No, wait.
Too much.
I'm
Too
assuming,
chunky.
C.
I'm assuming everybody but Lance has only seen it
I
once.
think the
now,
consensus is it's right around a C. If you average all this together, you're looking at a C, a solid C.
Yeah, I mean, you passed the class, you got the credit, so just and now you never have to take it again. That was
So crap. If nobody else is going to speak up for it, do I have to take on that role? Do I
No,
No,
everyone will just
no.
speak their
devil's
mind.
advocate here?
okay. So here, no, you know what I mean. I can defend a lot of it, but the problem that like a lot of it like is good. First problem, the opening crawl immediately was like
I know, it was horrible.
it was
What?
just like,
All this happened?
well, yeah. Just like, I
Yeah.
was like, okay, so I mean, admittedly, the end of I mean, if you compare it to Empire Strikes Back, the end of Empire Strikes Back, where basically you see Lando is leaving with Chewie, and they're gonna go and they're gonna try to find the bounty hunter, whatever. So a period of time has passed, and all of a sudden, they're on Tatooine. Chewbacca's been captured by captured by Princess Leia, who's pretending to be a bounty hunter, and Lando has inserted himself in the structure of the Jabba the Hutt's palace or whatever, and then we have Luke show up shortly thereafter, right? So we have all the main players, and we have our thing going on. So there was a chunk of time there that we missed, that we don't see. But here we have at the end of here we have all of a sudden, like at the end of Last Jedi, we have them in this like horrible situation where there's only like a scant few of them left,
Like
and
12.
like a dozen people left alive, and all of a sudden,
Which is the interesting starting point for a story.
yeah,
It
it's a very
is.
interesting story. But all of a sudden we have the dead speak. It's like the dead speak. The emperor.
No.
The dead speak!
Yeah, the emperor
Somebody turn off the
broadcasts something from whatever. It's like, what? It's like that could have been such a wonderful moment of like allowing the emperor to like be revealed as being behind everything, right? It was like it could have been so wonderful, but instead it was just like, no, the dead speak. And it's like here, like we're gonna fast forward 10 months ahead and all of a sudden here we are. And I was just kind of like, oh, like I mean, so I immediate letdown from the crawl itself. I was just like, this is stupid. And like, but
And this is still back when you gave it a B plus. or
yeah,
a B.
well, yeah, and I was just kind of like, okay, fine, whatever. We'll see what happens. Like I was just like, we'll play with this, and it was just kind of like, okay. So I guess that the place where Kylo Ren is fighting all those guys with the bamboo hats, which was just like, what is it? I guess that's Mustafar, which is
Yeah,
like
it is.
that.
Couldn't you tell?
Yeah,
With all the trees?
I couldn't tell, but I mean, I actually like saw something where they said that's
Yeah.
Mustafar. That's why that little thing was there, the little crystal or whatever that was going to tell him where to go or whatever and find the Emperor. And then it was just kind of like, it's like all of a sudden it's like he goes by the test tube full of Snokes, which I openly laughed at that. in the movie. When I was just like, you got to be kidding me. I was just like, okay, we're just growing Jedi Masters in this like whatever, and then and it's just I was like, okay, and that just if anything was like a giant like middle finger, and there was plenty of middle fingers in Rian
That was
Johnson.
just the beginning, yeah.
There are plenty of just middle fingers to Rian Johnson, which I don't know if they
the Holdo maneuver. 1 in a million.
So I don't know if that was the like intention, or we're just presuming that was what it was. I don't know. I mean, do you think that there was like a purposeful like flicking the middle finger at Rian Johnson?
I think that he realized how much the fans backlashed against that movie, and the best way to get them on your side is to take jabs at it, even if they're very innocent little jabs. I think those were intentional. There was too many of them to say that these were coincidental.
I think it's a good point.
I don't think they were fuck yous. I think they were just
I didn't say fuck yous,
incorrect
but they were jabs.
That, we have to course correct. Let's try to do it as smoothly as we can. And just the act of course correcting is a fuck you, but I don't feel like there's any malice behind it.
I don't think it's malice, but I think he realized that if he could get the fans to see that he is making light of what most considered a bad situation, that they would jump on his bandwagon, and I think it was totally intentional, whether he meant to literally say F you to Rian Johnson, or whether he would make light of the Holdo maneuver, or make light of Rose, who barely was in the movie at all, and every scene that should have been hers was given to other actors as a big F you to Rian Johnson for trying to make her the main plot of a movie that was supposed to focus around the main three. There were so many issues with little things that didn't make sense, that if they were actually trying to accept The Last Jedi as canon, this stuff shouldn't have happened, but it happened. So it's almost like that movie didn't exist, and they were going straight from Force Awakens right into Rise of Skywalker. Too many instances for me to think it's coincidental.
Nope, exactly.
I kind of think I feel they felt they were doing the right thing by course correcting, getting back to what they had originally set out to make, instead of the bountiful, fertile land that was given to them. I mean, they could have done a million interesting new things other than a boring beat-by-beat retread of frickin' Return of the Jedi.
Well, but here's the thing. They could have told this same story, like, ultimately, like, but in a way that wasn't like a like, we need to fix everything that happened in Last Jedi. You could have had Emperor Snoke be a, like, vestigial, like, creation of the Emperor in some way, right? I mean, you could do that. You could have that and still. I mean, everybody has hindsight 2020 and thinks, oh, I could tell a better story. I mean, everybody's going to think that at some point, or they're going to have that idea. But here, so okay, I'm trying to remember the movie, like, kind of scene by scene. So then we have the whole thing with you have Kylo Ren talking to the Emperor. And then he's like, "Oh, I've been the voice you've always talked to," and he speaks in Snoke's voice, and and like what have you,
and all that, yeah.
Yeah, I've been like the voice of the whole time, or whatever. And they have this process, and then he like, "Oh, why should I do this?" And then he waves his hand, and like 7,000 Star Destroyers show up. I was just like,
rise from a swamp.
Okay, so. Who made these? I mean, admittedly,
all those Sith that were in the stand.
All his millions of Sith minions who have just been living in the swamp with him for however long it's been, 20 years.
So I'm supposed to
and you decide to bring them up only halfway.
Yeah.
And leave them just with the right altitude.
And think about this.
So
it takes
27 days to do it.
27,000 people to man a Star Destroyer. So now think about how many people not only took to make that, but think how many people are on all of those Star Destroyers.
Well,
27,000 people.
Automation has come to the Star Wars universe.
Oh,
this is what Andrew Yang, Padawan, foretold.
Andrew Yang is a Sith Lord.
Yeah, there you go.
That explains a lot.
So okay, fine. Yeah, whatever. It's the story.
It's a thing that happened.
It's a thing that happened.
Sure. Maybe since the minute he got thrown over the bridge in Return, he's been recruiting Sith in his off-world to help man his future plot in 30, 40 years.
But I'll say
Well,
this.
what about
I'll say
the,
this.
what about the
Wait.
supposition
I'll say this. If
Well,
Ryan
he
Johnson had
not
put
original Palpatine, but a clone of Palpatine that he had, because this was apparently a storyline in old Dark Horse comics,
Mhm.
that Palpatine had fallback clones that he could force project.
it was.
In,
There was a old in the old Dark Horse comics. There was a storyline where Luke could not become a Jedi Master because he didn't have a master left that could teach him. So he was following, and literally, the Emperor, one of his clones, reaches out to him and says, "I'm the only master left. I am the only way that you can truly become a Jedi Master." And so so Luke goes and trains under him to elevate himself in the power. And then like the Emperor tries to corrupt him and turn to the dark side. And it was an interesting Dark Horse comic. I mean, it was, and that's how Luke in that realm became truly one with the Force, and then defeated the Emperor for all time. So that's where that comes from. Whether or not they borrowed that or even knew it existed, I mean, whatever. So then we have this whole thing where he tells him that he has to kill Rey or whatever, and then that's Kylo Ren's new thing that he has to do. But then what was the thing after that? So then wasn't it that basically now becomes the point and click adventure quest thing? You need this thing, so go here to get that thing. You get that thing, but you can't use that thing until you go here to get that thing. And then you go here to get that thing. Then you have to go here to get that thing, so you can use that thing here. So, and under this time constraint of what it wasn't it like 16 hours before?
Yes,
very important to have the ticking clock.
Clock, which I thought was a big problem with the movie for me, was that they had about 3.5 hours of movie to tell, and they crammed it into 2.5 hours. And I think if they had allowed themselves, I mean, large movies are not a big deal anymore these days. Every Lord of the Rings movie was over 3 hours. You can tell a good story in a large amount of time. Since this was the finale to the saga, give it the freaking time you need to develop these plots instead of just pushing you at light speed through them, which made a lot of them hard to believe. Develop them a little bit. I think all these montages and all the crap they did to try to make this into a 2.5 hour movie, I don't know why. If you're going to end the saga and give these things time to develop.
Yeah,
that was my biggest problem.
More excited if they found out it was 3.5 hours. I think most people would be like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah,
let's wrap this with an exclamation point.
Exactly. Some people have waited 42 years for this, and you're going to cram. I mean, if there's a director's cut, if the Blu-ray will have deleted scenes, there's got to be stuff, because there's so many things. And I'll wait to the end of the movie, end of the discussion, because some of them have to do with stuff that happens at the end. But there's so many things that you can tell they literally rush through, like when they're doing this quest and grabbing the trying to find the Wayfinder, and then they get C-3PO, and then they meet Poe's enemy who wants to shoot his brains into the sand. But then like 3 minutes later, she's like, "Here, take my most prized possession and let me help you." It's like they didn't develop that whole thing at all. It was like, I hate you. Oh, here, let me help you.
Okay, so here let's take a couple steps back here, because I want to first of all I want to respond to GML4. It says you guys are way overthinking this stuff, and you're probably right. You're probably right.
Welcome to Star Wars fandom, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I will agree 100% that we're probably overthinking it, but that's what we do. I mean, we're Star Wars geeks, and we're going to overanalyze this. So
yeah, and actually, to be honest, I mean, I'm not really too terribly. I know I just complained about the plot hole of why doesn't the Emperor just call for them all to go into space instead of waiting 2 days? I mean, it's dumb, it's stupid, it's completely unjustifiable. But I don't really care.
The only thing
stuff that really bothers me.
The only thing I justified that whole thing was that maybe he was leaving them there to lure Rey to the planet so that he could then get her to kill him so he could ascend. That's the only reason I could think of.
to lure Rey to the planet was have Kylo Ren force beep her, saying, "Hey, come to this planet. The mystery of your heritage will be revealed." Movie over.
Yeah.
Not very exciting, but would have been practical.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Since you mentioned that, so so she's the Emperor's granddaughter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Palpatine
Which
got
means
busy
that
somewhere.
Or
Palpatine.
it was another force birth.
Well, it could be. Yeah, that's the other thing. They never really explained that. But
You're pregnant.
but the parents. Okay, so the parents was the guy or the woman, her dad or her mom?
I believe the guy was Palpatine's son, and the lady was a daughter-in-law.
Okay, but the girl didn't have anything special about her. She wasn't like Han Solo's grandniece or something. I mean,
read the novelization. I imagine.
Yeah,
I'm sure the novelization will go. Yeah, it was the Emperor's son, but I don't know that they mentioned that the woman was of any heritage.
Did they ever say it was the Emperor's son? I mean, I don't know.
I thought at one point I thought it was.
They said I've been waiting for somebody to release subtitles so I can actually read the thing. When Last Jedi came out, they were available like within a week. A full transcribed script, but it's not available anywhere yet. It's driving me nuts. I really wanted to have that so I could look up specific lines because I don't remember much other than just my crushing ennui brought on by the film.
Yeah. Well, regardless, okay. So it isn't nobody, whatever. So okay.
So hey, as we're going, if we're just going to beat by beat it because you got your notes, I think it's worthwhile mentioning every once in a while when there's something I liked.
Okay.
I liked it when Rey called Leia Master.
I did too. I thought that
was fucking great.
I think for the most part, the inclusion of Carrie Fisher was done respectfully.
I agree with that.
You could definitely tell like they had a lot of B-roll footage of them handing lightsabers back and forth.
I was surprised though. They said they weren't going to CGI her, yet they did CGI her younger version when she was like sparring with Luke and stuff.
Yeah.
And at the end at the Force Ghost, they did CGI, and I thought they specifically said they would not. I mean, I still think it was done respectfully, but I'm just curious what changed their mind. I guess they had to have that footage to make it work.
Sure when they said that, they meant we are not going to insert old Leia in. I mean, and because they didn't have to.
But I thought it was done well.
I didn't know that's what they were doing. I thought she had been alive long enough to actually film some stuff, and I didn't realize. And I mean, I look at it now. And why didn't I notice? Because she is kind of slightly out. But it looked like to me. Wow, they de-aged her. They did the Marvel de-aging on her. It's kind of what it looked like to me more.
And considering they had to take old footage and make it work in order to keep her, it could explain why some of the plot points are a little disjointed because they're taking clips that weren't specifically cut for this movie and they tried to weave it into the movie. And I gave it a little bit of a pass because I thought it was respectfully done well enough that it didn't bother me, but it did probably explain why some of the interactions with her maybe didn't always feel like they flowed smoothly.
Unfortunately, the only real problems I had with her, she did one of her first lines, because again, I didn't know what was happening, and I thought, wow, that's a really strange line for her to say, because it was the, Rey said completely randomly, I know it looks like I'm not trying or something like that.
Yeah, I'm tired or whatever.
Don't tell me what it looks like. Tell me what it is. And I'm like, that is the clunkiest dialogue I've ever heard. And it wasn't until after the movie was over and I realized, oh, she was never there. That was all B-roll from, So it was fine. They would have been better off without that, I think. And I think they probably should have done more with getting a voice alike and just having more over-the-shoulder type stuff. So they could have fleshed out what she was doing more. Like the hug, when they hugged, that looked really good.
Well, that was probably cut from the end of Last Jedi because
it could be. You're right. It could be
because when she came back on the ship, remember they had an embrace, and I'm sure they took that multiple times from multiple angles. So they probably took that hug scene from different angles and then just CG'd some different clothes on her to make it look different.
Yeah. I'm sure they did. Yeah, the same as Marvel Endgame. Every single time you see the suits they wear, they were all CGI. Right. But there it looks perfect. But anyway, yes, I really like that idea that Leia had took on training her and she called her master, and I thought that was great.
Which also
in a single line, and that was really good.
And if you want to be technical, in that single line of calling her master, and also the scene of her being young and being trained by Luke, it gives like weight and actual like purpose to the whole like her force Mary Poppins thing, back onto the ship.
It does explain that a little bit. It kind of it doesn't it validates that she could potentially have the power to do something like that.
Whereas it's fine. I have no problem with it. I don't think it was necessary because literally the first thing any Jedi trainee does, pretty much on their own, is force pull. It's the first thing Luke did by himself with zero training. He force pulled when he was in the Yeti cave. And so I always thought, it's Leia. The first time she's ever had to do anything, the simplest thing in the universe is a force pull, and she pulled herself back in. But that said, if that was something they felt like they had to fix by making her more powerful, that even though anybody could survive in space as long as she did, we have to justify it. Okay, fine. She's full on force training. The force kept her alive because she's got a lot of midichlorians. That's okay. I got no problem with it.
All right, so they go to the Burning Man planet. That just isn't it amazing that it's once every 48 years or
42 years, which is the anniversary of the original Star Wars.
That's right, which I caught was like that's like once every 42 years. All these crazy.
How the hell did you catch that? I did not.
It was just why would it be 42? So once every 42.
So. Yeah, right. That is weird. Yeah. Okay.
Once
you skipped, though, by the way, before you jump on the quest, the other big reveal. Kylo got his mask back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's another force correction from Last Jedi.
Ryan.
Yep.
Which I didn't think.
Put it back together.
Own man? No. You're not your own man. We're going to just drive right back into nostalgia.
Yeah.
And we're going to visually indicate just how bad Rian Johnson fucked up because look
at
the mask
that are keeping track at home, put another mark in there.
Which is symbolic of the entire new trilogy.
I want to know where they got the like weird orangutan welder guy. I mean, okay, so
is he like an Ugnaught or something?
No, he wasn't an Ugnaught. It was like did you see he was almost like one of those weird monkeys with the mandrills, like with the big noses or something like that. That's with the weird goggles on.
It's a new action figure. That's all they care about.
I just like apparently it was like thousands of his Sith people living in the swamp and this one orangutan welder. I just whatever. It was but
yeah.
The mask looked cool with the red glowing.
The ultimate fuck you to Rian Johnson, if you want to view it that way, is hey Rose, you ready to come on the adventure with us? No, I think I'm gonna
I got homework.
I got homework. I got homework to
have a Hobbit take all of my lines. I think that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna touch on the Rose thing. She was literally one of my most hated characters in Star Wars ever. But here's the deal. You don't introduce somebody, give them a giant part a la Lando in episode 5 or episode 8, and then basically say, I got to do a bunch of homework. I got to study maps. I can't come on the adventure
other
with
people
you.
that could study maps for you. Yeah. I think this was his way of breaking up the Rose Finn love situation.
And she got the like the just friends tap on the shoulder from Finn as he was leaving. He totally
eliminated that whole love triangle and then introduced another girl that would have more chemistry with Finn by the end of the movie, which completely tells me he's just like saying to you,
it was just kind of like totally friend zoned her. Just like
he friend zoned her hard.
Yeah.
I mean, the actress who plays Rose had said she, all the actors got to see an original cut before the theatrical cut. And apparently she came out and said in an interview, it's so exciting. I can't wait for everybody to see all my interactions with Leia. It's a real girl empowering moment. It's amazing. And then we saw all cut.
Yeah. I mean, I feel bad for her as an actress because she didn't do anything but play the role she was given.
And she took more shit than anybody.
Way more than she deserved.
She's the second most reviled.
And I want to say these cracks and jokes I'm making about it has nothing to do with her. It's just you could obviously tell that he wanted nothing to do with that character, and he got her in and out of the movie as quick as he could.
Yeah, I mean, she really had nothing.
So weird to do that and then just introduce a whole bunch of B-roll characters who
that could have been the part she could have had.
Rose should be doing this.
Can I take a step back? How many of the friends of JJ moments did we have to have? I mean, basically, I can't remember the actors' names, but
Kevin Smith was in the movie.
Greg Grunberg. I think you're talking the Portly guy, right?
Yeah. Who had to die? You know,
And
basically
Donovan
and how
Montague
many,
or whatever. The Lord
yeah, and then
Hobbit.
and the person who plays Zira, or what it was, Zira. What was the
chick on the
Poe's
planet that was
love interest?
hated Poe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who I guarantee you that is like a J.J. Abrams, because she was in one of his original movies or TV shows, like the actress. I can't think of her name right now. Somebody will say it. But she
Carrie
like,
Russell.
Carrie Russell.
Says
Okay. So here's the deal with Carrie Russell. That sounds to me like it's one of those things. I'll pay you $250,000, and then I'll percentage point on the movie. So you can basically make millions of dollars, and you literally are only going to have to be in one scene of the movie. I'll body double you the rest of the way, because there's one scene in the movie where she goes and talks up on top of the roof with Poe.
And pulls the mask up.
She pulls her mask, and you can see her eyes. Other than that, all of her lines could have been just spoken by her in a sound room from like her house somewhere else. It's got to be just like him, like you said, big giant laugh of like, I'm gonna get all of my friends of JJ. I'm gonna get them all millions of dollars by to do absolutely nothing. I mean, like literally, like next to nothing throughout the entire movie. What was the whole point of that character of Zyra or
They
Zira?
need somebody on that planet to be their like assist to get them what they needed. And that was
no. I mean, that's MacGuffin. That's pointless stuff.
MacGuffin.
The only point she served is to establish background for Poe that, hey, you know what? I was scum and villainy once too.
That's
it's
true.
Just a couple
She spoiled he was.
Hey, you know what? Maybe there's something interesting there. Are you going to do anything with it, or are you just going to mention it and forget it?
We'll see it on Disney
Right.
Plus
Series,
next year at
baby.
some point.
Give me that Disney Plus series.
Yep, to give her a Disney Plus series with
Oh,
her
that
and
too.
Poe
Yeah.
back in the smuggling days.
Character.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
Yep.
it was totally like
I agree.
So here's I want to touch on, and this is the beginning of several of these things. Chewbacca's dead. No, he isn't.
Yeah.
Just
And they didn't even it wasn't like we could sit on it. Like everyone in the theater was like, oh, my wife was like crying. My son was like, whoa.
I know.
And then it's like they cheapened it.
3 minutes later, oh, he's alive.
Come on. How good of that reveal would have been an hour later.
Yep.
Like it would have been
But they
so
didn't
much-
have an hour because the movie is
just
over an
not
hour after
do it
that.
at all,
Yeah.
and actually help her on her path to the dark side, because she would be so riddled with guilt. She would actually have, as an actress, something to chew on, something to do, other than just find out, oh, wait, no, I can feel him. He's here. He's fine. That's
or what about this thing? The fact that she used like the Force lightning or whatever.
See, that was interesting.
Like, yeah, totally. Like, what if? Oh my gosh! So is she going to turn to the dark side, and Kylo's going to have to redeem her? And
That's the ending
accidentally
I was
killed
hoping
Chewie.
for,
The last
honestly.
well-loved story character in the thing, other than Lando. This is amazing. Oh no, we're basically going to repeat every freaking risk. The security on Imperial stations is just the worst. How many times do they? Although there was another fuck you to Rian Johnson, because Rian Johnson is the first time in Star Wars history where, hey, let's do another Resistance break-in to a Death Star, and turns out it doesn't work. Turns out you're likely to get caught if you do that. Go on a harebrained scheme to go save some princess from prison in the most guarded place in the galaxy. And maybe that doesn't work. Maybe we should subvert expectations. No. It's fine. We'll have yet another rescue mission.
Well, and
to
how
a
about,
random Star Destroyer to save some random person. Why not?
and how about the fact that, okay, so then it was like you bring up this character, this Carrie Russell's character. Somebody say what her name is. I can't remember what it was. Zira.
So listen,
Zero.
So
it's her.
yeah, they bring her, and she's like, oh, I got one of these Imperial coins. It can get me in anywhere. And it's like, wow. And she's like, you should come with me. And he's like, oh, I can't because I'm blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine, whatever. So then it's just like, and all of a sudden he's like, we got to get out of here. We got to save Chewbacca. And it's like, oh, you need to save your friend that I know nothing about. Here, take this coin that is like priceless.
Valuable thing I own.
Oh, and then he's like, you can come with me. Nah. I mean,
I got
And
my.
I guess
my
every ship
0.5%.
of the galaxy has a Imperial Captain coin slot they can stick it into. I mean, it just makes sense that every ship would have one of those, right? So that every ship,
Bliss.
not just Imperial ships, can use these coins to get around.
so also another thing, poignant moment. What are you doing, C-3PO? I'm just taking one last look at my
The
friends.
single greatest egregious sin of that movie, because that was phenomenal.
Just like,
As a setup that they just piss all over.
and then it was like R2-D2 just shows up and like download.
There's your memory back.
God, how
And you know the funny part?
filmmakers
You
and
want to
storytellers,
you
how
want to
could
know?
they
And
do
this
that?
this is the part that
They grasped
solidified.
failure from the jaws of
This
victory.
is the part that
Coach.
solidified me that he was saying "f you" to Ryan Johnson, because C-3PO backed his memory up to right before him and Rey were going to go on a mission, which was at the end of The Force Awakens, which means he completely forgot Last Jedi. Everything that happened from Last Jedi is erased in his memory banks, because all he remembers is the stuff that happened during Rise of Skywalker after his memory got wiped, and then it got rebooted to right after Force Awakens. So he completely wiped out Last Jedi.
Let me take
the Chewie misdirect was, and that was atrocious. And then to do it literally within 15 minutes with C-3PO, when that could have been the most impactful moment of the entire movie. It was. That was another movement I really liked a lot. That line. I just want to look at my friends one more time. You know, that brings up the phlegm a little bit, but fuck you, JJ. JJ said to himself.
Go back. If we go back to Burning Man planet.
Okay. Yes.
So I wanted to say this. So they just happen to have this chase scene. Okay. Well, first of all, Lando shows up. Everybody knows it's Lando. Still, it's fun to see Lando, and he's on this weird crawler thing or whatever. But like Lando is in his 80s, and I guess like he's not very mobile. Like personally, like he's not like.
Oh, you mean Billy D. Williams?
Yeah, Billy D. Williams is not a very mobile human being. Like he gets around on a cane and you know, because he's 80 or something or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, but so they give him his scene, they give him his moment, and which was like that was nice, and it was just kind of like, oh, that's really good, and then they leave, and they have a very good action sequence. Like I like the whole being chased. It was basically the speeder bike scene from Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
Everything about this film was competently filmed.
Yeah.
Well put together. JJ is a great visual director.
So they're going and then they crash or whatever, and they land in the one patch of quicksand.
The coffee beans.
The coffee bean quicksand that the guy that they were chasing and trying to find also happened to have landed on and fallen underneath, and then ran into the giant worm creatures and got killed by them or something, and then they can find that dagger that happened to be the clue that they need or whatever. Okay, fine. But also, hey, it's a big giant worm creature. Oh my gosh, what should we do? No, we'll have it be wounded. So she can force heal it, so we can represent the fact that we're going to be using force healing many times.
Just in case you missed the latest episode of The Mandalorian, and we had not established it there, let's just make sure.
Let's just make sure that you understand that force users can heal people.
It's totally a thing.
Yeah.
Boy, I wish Ben Kenobi knew that when Qui-Gon got stabbed. He could have totally fixed him up.
Yeah, I mean, totally.
See, here's the thing. I'll give that a pass because Baby Yoda is a creature of the Force, so fine, he can do it because it hasn't been trained out of him by Jedi dogma. And I'll give it, hey, you know what? She just spent a year reading the Jedi texts, and while apparently they're really boring, apparently there was some good stuff in there that everybody ignored.
Yeah.
Fine, okay, whatever. Most plot holes I can roll with. It can be explained. It shouldn't have to be. It shouldn't introduce stuff that needs to then be explained, but it can be explained.
So we cut to, if I remember correctly, if I'm following the movie, we have the.
Check your notes.
Yeah, I am. But so we go to the scene where Rey goes back to the planet where she trained.
Oh, geez, you're jumping way ahead. Okay.
No, that's okay. No, they have to go. They have to go.
They have to do the knife. They find the knife.
Oh yeah, they find the knife.
And I thought that was a very cool bit of lore building that C-3PO's programming was prevented him from reading Sith language, because I could totally see that happening at the height of the Empire. Palpatine wants doesn't want anybody stumbling across any Sithy type stuff that would be a threat to him. So, pretty much it's a dictate that all droids in the galaxy have to be programmed for this. And I thought, wow, that's a really cool idea. That's an interesting callback. That is building the world and adding something to the mythos. I thought that was very cool, and I don't have any kind of snarky, but then he fucked it up, because it was actually really coolly done. That was a nice idea. If you have to have a fetch quest, at least do something interesting with it, other than, I got to find Kyber. Actually, even Kyber Crystal would have been better than what they did.
And then we go to the spot where we have the like basically 1 foot tall action figure guy that we're gonna, I forget what his name is. The
hottest toy.
Basically the next cool toy that's gonna be like, that hot wires him or whatever. Which whatever, he was fine, I guess. But I mean, just dumb.
Hey, Babu freak.
So we go to the planet, and then Finn runs into this. Hey, forget that love interest. Here's your new love interest. And isn't it wonderful that we made sure that you're both African American? Isn't that wonderfully perfect?
Here's talk about dropping the ball. Probably the biggest ball drop of the entire show. They introduce, hey, we're stormtroopers. Yeah, we've rebelled, and Finn asks, why did you do it? And she didn't have an answer.
Would have been great if they homaged him.
Because we heard of you.
Yep. That's exactly.
Me saying that right now sends shivers.
Yep. That would have been a great way.
Like justifies Finn's entire existence in this.
Yeah, because they said we heard of like FN whatever his name. Yeah. And how he struck down reference what's her face, the
Captain
silver.
Phasma.
Yeah, and how he struck down Captain Phasma.
I know.
And he would just be like,
a simple line could have elevated this movie, but from a D- to a D, quite frankly.
So I will say this. I'll say this: the lightsaber battle between Rey and Kylo,
excellent,
really
one of the better ones.
Really, really good lightsaber battle.
One of the better ones in the entire series.
I enjoyed it, and
I will get to that. You had to go through. Let's stand in the exact right place to hold the knife up.
Yeah. A total Goonies moment. Like basically, that's what I thought of. I thought of Goonies immediately. Like, you happen to be in the exact right spot where the things measure up, and you happen to be in the exact right hill at the exact right time, so you could pull this little thing out, and then I have to go to this spot on this, which okay, fine, whatever.
I will forgive it, because hey, you know what they did? We didn't hear the whole Seth translation, but it included coordinates you had to stand at.
Okay,
and they just didn't bother us showing her doing a scanner to know she was standing in the right spot. Fine, okay, whatever.
Yeah, we'll let it go.
Came up with this wacky. I mean, who's responsible for this knife?
Yeah, like if the Emperor has a wayfinder hidden in his private chamber, why would he want to let anyone know where it was?
Yeah.
Why would you have a knife made to know where it is? You wouldn't. You would not. No one but the Emperor would know that thing was in there, and he would not make a landmark to tell people how to find it.
Yeah.
But he did.
So, okay.
Maybe he's trying to make sure Rey finds it so he can get her to
as opposed to just calling her on the Force phone. And she'd come running.
So this is where my D-.
Definitely excellent lightsaber battle.
This is where my D- went to a D. This is kind of like the moments where Harrison Ford showing up and not knowing that Harrison Ford was in the movie, and and having it was so amazing having a guy that just knows how to let there be a pause in your words, and having just a look in your eyes, and just how he he's an actor, right? He knows how to act, and it's just and not that the other people didn't, but you can definitely see he's got 50 years of acting chops, and he's learned a few things, and I really liked the scene for him and Ben. I really enjoyed that. The fact that he reaches up and he touches the side of his face, and like just like he did when he was killed by Kylo Ren. If you go back and watch,
the same dialogue too.
It was almost exactly word for word the same scene.
That was all wonderfully done. Obviously, it was originally intended for Carrie Fisher to do all that. She couldn't, so they get on the Harrison phone, and they get him in, and that's great. And now my complaint about what is arguably probably the high point of the entire movie. Kylo has a line about how you're a memory or something like that. If it had been a long line, sometimes, well, how are you here? If Han had said, your mother sent me. Because what did she do? She just laid down and took a nap. And our guide lady said, she knows what she must do. I guess she's going to go take a nap. And okay, fine. She's not as good as, and here's a potentially powerful callback to Last Jedi. Luke had the power to project himself across the galaxy. Leia knows I have to project Han across the galaxy to get to him. This is what I have to do. And that gives her a hero moment rather than all she does is her hero moment is I'm going to distract my son so he can get stabbed in the gut. And then I'm dead. Or I'm going to die to distract my son. Now this required nothing from Carrie Fisher. It required Harrison Ford to say, "Your mother sent me," and people would have been bawling.
Yeah,
in the theater.
yeah. It's like, that would be a much better explanation.
More emotional for sure. It would have tugged at the heartstrings of every Star Wars original trilogy fan.
Now, why wasn't there more emotion in Bubsy 3D then?
I learned a lot on the side of TV.
So we
I really got my teeth as a storyteller there.
now here's one of my problems is like I didn't really understand how Kylo even got to that planet to have that battle with her. Like there was a lot of people just were at the place they needed to be at for a specific time and what have you.
The entire movie. Oh, where's Rey? Okay, I'm going to show up 15 minutes later. I'm like a puppy dog chasing after my master.
I guess it's just meant to assume that Kylo is the supreme leader and he has access to unlimited amount of vehicles, spaceships, and transportation things. It's the only thing you can do to piece together why he just appears, especially after that Death Star scene and she steals his TIE fighter. Well, how does he get off of that planet without? You have to assume he calls in. Even though he's changed back to the light side, maybe the troops don't know it and they give him a TIE fighter. There's plenty of how did he get here? There can't be a working TIE fighter left on that Death Star. So where in the hell did he find a working TIE fighter that also had light hyperspace capabilities to get him all the way back to Exegol?
Yeah.
You're jumping ahead.
Yeah,
okay. But this is the point where we find it.
All
so
agree, great lightsaber battle. J.J. is a great action director.
Yes, great lightsaber.
I read one place. I don't know if this is on purpose, but it does have kind of a nice symmetry with Return of the Jedi. Anakin died fighting in lava on Mustafar.
Yes.
Ben Solo was reborn fighting in water on whatever moon of Endor it was.
Yeah, you might be reading something that isn't really in there, but I agree with that.
I want to give them credit to say yes, that they were doing that on purpose because that's a beautiful bit of symmetry that unfortunately, if that was on purpose, was a bit too subtle. I like it. I want that to be their intention as filmmakers.
I did read that somebody a critique, and they said, I'm totally stealing this. They said J.J. Abrams is an extremely competent director. He just isn't that good of a writer.
Yes, exactly. I thought his Star Trek movies were fantastic because he was not the writer.
Yeah. So moving on. So we have so Rey goes back to the Puffin planet.
Yep.
And now this I think is the biggest FU to Rian Johnson in the entire movie. She throws the lightsaber.
Jedi's weapon deserves more respect.
Yeah. Ghost Luke catches it and says a Jedi's weapon deserves more respect than that.
Because of the way he mistreated the lightsaber at the beginning.
The fact that he flipped
it was a total FU moment. I cannot believe that wasn't coincidental.
As the biggest fan of Return of the Jedi here, I think I've proven that in the past. I thought that was a good line. I liked that line. To me, that line was one of the few times in this film where the filmmakers actually recognized, you know what? Luke went on a journey. He was not done growing as a character. And we saw that, and we are now seeing him coming out as a stronger, better man, or ghost.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that was totally fine. I know everybody looks at it as the ultimate fuck you, but to me, that's the ultimate. We understand and respect what you did with Last Jedi, and we will honor it by not saying fuck you, haha, or making fun of the moment, but actually showing how much he has grown because he speaks with such gravitas about it. And within like 2 paragraphs later, he says, "I was wrong." I mean, he fully admits it. He admitted that at the end of Last Jedi, and he reinforced that here. So I thought that was fine. I thought that was good.
So I will say this. I was a little annoyed that we never had Yoda show up at some point. And I thought this was a very good moment. His voice, but I thought this could have been a moment where they could have found a way for Yoda to be there to, as kind of like the moment where Luke left in Empire Strikes Back and he flies away, and maybe Force Ghost Luke says something and have Yoda, he talks to Yoda again, or even have some sort of way to have Ewan McGregor be Ben Kenobi or something. I thought maybe they could have done something like that. I would have squealed like a fanboy at that moment. But whatever. I mean, and that seemed to wrap itself up really quickly. This is moment that made me go from D to D plus, and this might be F to D minus, D, whatever. The fact that Luke raised his own X-wing, the thing that he couldn't do, and Yoda had to do it for him,
and he did it just like Yoda did too.
And he did it just like Yoda, and then he put it down, and he had this self-satisfied smile on his like the thing that he couldn't do, he did himself, and I was like, that was like a callback to my childhood.
All I want to know is if all these Jedi are out there in Force Ghost form, why aren't they effing up the Sith? Because they can do all kinds of stuff.
Sith never come to this planet.
Yeah, I guess not. I mean, they can lift ships and catch lightsabers.
It is the strongest with the light side of the Force in the galaxy. This is where you want to hang out if you're a ghost because you can party.
Yeah,
apparently.
And so, they must have ragers. It must be awesome.
Yeah.
But I like that. And I did like the fact that and this comes back later, too, as something I really like. Now, they get back. So Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher, she evaporates, whatever. This is a moment I really liked as well. Chewbacca is the last of the original, of the original. And they give him a moment where he lands and he finds out that Leia has died. And he basically loses it. And you can see the people rush to him because he is literally the last of the original 4. And I thought they gave Chewbacca, bad adjective, a very human moment, a moment for him to show, because he totally got totally screwed on the Han Solo grief, on the thing where it was just it's oh, your best friend you've had for the last 40 years of your life, and it's just oh, Chewie, get out of here. I got to go talk to you. It's just he didn't get any moment like that in The Last Jedi, which I thought was horrible. I thought that made me happy. That little moment to make Chewbacca, allow him to emote his anguish over all of his friends being gone, which was good, I thought. I thought of this. This is something weird. So, since Chewbacca can be like the Wookiees live to be 500-600 years or whatever, do they consider their human friends like we consider our dogs? We have dogs that are our best friends in our lives for 10, 15 years, and we know that they won't live that long. So does Chewbacca kind of look oh, I'm going to have this really good friend, but I understand that, one day they won't be here anymore because I live so long. It's a weird thought, but I just had that thought when I was watching it for the second time. So, So they come back. They piece together everything. Where was the ticker at? I forget where the time what they had left. This is when they came up with their big idea of how
Go to Exegol.
Yeah, go to Exegol because they got the directions or whatever
From Rey's.
Rey, after the moderately good stuff with Luke, decides, oh wait, my fetch quest. Let's not forget.
Yes.
Hey, I got the triangle. I can go to the next level. Excellent.
Yes. So their big plan. They're going to send Han and Chewie to
they're going to recreate Return of the Jedi with a 3-pronged battle scene. A land assault, an air assault, and a personal showdown between Force people.
Yes.
Because why not?
Because why not?
Okay, I'm just going to complain some more. God damn it! Because as much as I thought, okay, maybe they were paying attention to the symmetry of the Star Wars saga with the death of Anakin and the rebirth of Ben. Okay, that's pretty cool. But let's completely ignore one of the central tenets of George Lucas's 6-movie trilogy, in that the first Phantom Menace ends with a big maelstrom of 3 things going on: ground assault, aerial assault, Jedi's fighting. And the second movie, the third movie, the stakes get smaller and smaller. We stop following so many threads until at Revenge of the Sith, it's just one thread. It's just Obi-Wan and Anakin, and everything else falls away. It was a big Star Wars, but then it becomes a personal story. Then we go to New Hope, and it ends with just one story: Luke versus a big, gigantic space ball. And now that we're growing again, we'll build back up. And so we have 2 things going on. Just like at the end of the Attack of the Clones, we have 2 things to follow in Empire, which is people escaping, and then we get to Return of the Jedi, and we split to 3 things, and things are fully blossomed, and we are back to where we started. There is synergy, there is symmetry between the movies. And then JJ, who doesn't understand that, all says, hey, let's just do the Return of the Jedi thing again. Completely ignoring. I really care about these things, and I really shouldn't, because I'm much more of a Star Trek fan. But that I found that very loathsome. To beat for beat. Got to have our ground assault. But it's on horsies now. We got to have our Jedi stuff, and we got to have our air flight.
What an incredibly stupid moment of like, okay, we're going to land. First of all, like, all of these Star Destroyers all have planet-killing weapons. I mean, just like,
because why not?
Because why not? It's just so dumb. Not only,
of course they do.
Not only do I
believe that's a direct line.
It is a direct line. Poe says it.
He says that, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Practically him looking to the camera saying, "Of course they do."
He does. He's absolutely right.
Not only do we have 7,000 Star Destroyers that we built in the swamp, but they all have Death Star capable weaponry. So they have their master plan.
I like that line a lot more.
Yeah.
Now they're practically breaking the fourth wall.
So we have the master plan. We have to destroy this antenna.
Sure.
Why would they have one antenna? And these ships are too big to leave to take off.
They've only had 48 hours to do it, but they're going to do it all right now with their one antenna.
Okay, fine. We land on this Star Destroyer. Okay, and then the guy says, I mean, just so we have an excuse to have these stupid horses or whatever the heck they were, which are basically an action figure. It's like, jam their speeders.
I totally missed that line.
Yeah. He goes.
I can't.
He goes, jam their speeders. They can't. They're not using speeders. Which also is this huge problem I always have had with and this isn't just Star Wars, but every single, like my wife and I just watched the second season of Lost in Space on Netflix, which wasn't that bad. But it's like, why do we always land miles away from our destination in these landers? Why don't you just take the lander and land it right next to the place where you have to be?
Why didn't the guy driving the Star Destroyer just tilt so they'd all just fall off the side? Problem solved, guys. We don't have to launch troopers at them. Let me just put it upside down and let them just fall to the ground.
Hold on a moment. Oh, wait. Oh, our master plan.
Lustily to the left, and they'll all go away.
or yeah, just like whatever. So I mean,
A force correct.
how I mean, just like jam their speeders. I mean, okay, why have we not jammed speeders every time?
Because they've got ancient Sith Empire swamp technology now.
Yeah.
Just
They never had the swamp technology, Sith.
Powered by an Emperor alkaline battery.
I mean, and so we can basically have our Finn and her name was like Zora. So like the two new female characters both have Z names for whatever reason.
And poor Rose had to watch them have their heroic moment together, and she's just sitting there going, "Oh."
Well, she had homework. She had homework to do. I mean,
she was on the ground assault. She was
oh
there.
yeah, that's right. She was, and then she was like, and she said something like, "Oh, Finn," and he's like, "No, go without me." Just with friend zone.
Me and this new chick are gonna hang out here at the Baby Heroes.
We'll be having wonderful, good, perfect racial relations. We can't have it. Just not that matters. It bugged me. It's just like it just I'm like the biggest detractor of Rose and the whole character of Rose in Last Jedi. But just let her be with them. Just let her go on the adventure. It was like she should have been there with Finn the entire time, and they should have had that relationship blossom and be a thing. It seems so dumb that she
couldn't though, because he's too busy yelling, "Ray! Ray! Ray!" Freaking A. Can you say another line, please? Oh wait, he does. Poe! Poe! It's like he has no other line. His lines are screaming people's names.
Yeah.
That's like 80% of his lines. It's
to his credit, if you go on, the fact that he does an American accent so well, because if you ever go and watch an interview,
British,
he is. It is as thick a bro British, British, like whatever, like his accent, whatever it happens to be, it is extremely thick. So kudos to him for adopting the American accent and pulling it off. So we have that whole dumb battle, and it's like the new.
Don't forget on your left.
Oh yeah,
shown up by the greatest movie of our lifetimes.
Yeah,
the exact same plot beat. Marvel showed him how it's done.
Yeah. So apparently, all you need is Colt 45, because Lando goes off and like promises a cool, smooth Colt 45 to all of the people, and they all show up, millions upon millions of spaceships and battle. Well, yeah, it was nice. It was nice,
and that's what JJ's good for. Great visuals.
Yeah. So we do the whole. Then we go back down to the planet. And then we have the whole strike me down and you can save, basically the whole Luke confrontation with the Emperor once again. Yeah. And strike me down and whatever, and then you'll become the thousands of Siths before you and whatever. I don't understand how that works. Or anything like that.
It's because basically, if she kills him, instead of him putting his essence into another clone, he's going to take over her body, and all of the Sith that are in him are going to now be in her, and it's some weird perverted Sith thing.
So we're supposed to believe that she's going to do this, apparently. But once again, speed of plot, Kylo Ben manages to make it back
on the rented TIE fighter.
Yeah, on the different TIE fighter. He has his little moment of fighting the Knights of Ren, and defeats them or whatever.
They're Dyad.
What?
The Force Dyad.
Yep.
Dyad.
Yep. But she gives him the behind the back pass of the lightsaber.
Yeah.
Now, making fun aside, I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
there's a single Star Wars movie that does not introduce new things into the Force, into what you can be done. And I thought, yeah, that's a really cool continuation of what had been gone before, what Ryan had set up, the notion of Force being able to traverse, with your thoughts. Okay, yeah, fine. You can teleport stuff with the Force.
I would just like to say,
people don't bitch about it, but I actually thought it was really cool, and it was to good effect because that was probably the second best thing that Kylo had to do in the whole movie. Was when he found it, he gave the Knights of Ren a look that was basically Harrison Ford.
It was awesome.
And that was perfect.
He's a good actor. I give him that. He's a good
Oh,
actor.
yeah.
You've seen Marriage Story. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. But hey, Javi's here. Hello, Alaboom. Sorry I'm late. Rise of Skywalker sucked. So, so we have, and then basically we then the Emperor becomes a Dementor and starts sucking their souls, and then he starts. Dennis Lawson shows up for one line as Wedge, which I thought was cool. Wedge Antilles.
That was cool. I enjoyed seeing Wedge. It was nice they brought back some of the notable characters from the original trilogy.
Yeah,
since they killed off so many other ones.
So they do the thing, and they have shoots Force lightning up into the sky, and apparently the Force lightning can now destroy spaceships, or it doesn't really destroy them, just turns off their engines.
It's like he's got ion fingers.
Yeah,
it's Star Wars EMP.
Yeah.
EMP.
And he force pushes Ben into a chasm, so he's dead, but not really.
Yeah, of course.
And then she all she needed was 2 lightsabers, and then she was able to defeat him, which was what?
Okay, so we skipped over a big part.
Okay, go.
I don't remember exactly when it happens, but I guess it's back when she's with Luke, revealing that Leia had full training. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah.
I really like that a lot. I thought that was the best way they could introduce it. Oh my God, they're such badasses. They're not just fighting the little blaster droid with the shields down. They're actually full on fighting each other, completely blinded, so that we don't have to show Carrie Fisher until the last second when we just very briefly open her mask. I thought that was all really cool, and I liked it a lot.
So I will say this. I really had a problem with the fact that if you strike me down, then you'll get all of the Sith inside you, but not if you have 2 lightsabers. If you have 2 lightsabers,
she didn't strike him down. You noticed that she just reflected his lightning back on him, and he killed himself instead of her killing him.
Okay.
Well, he's got a real problem with that, going all the way back to Mace Windu.
You know what, dude? Turn off the lightning.
Just stop with the zappy zap.
Just turn it off. And guess what? If you turn it off, she's got to kill you, and then you go inside her. It's simple as that.
It never works for you, man.
Yeah.
The 3rd time, Mace Windu did it to him. Luke did it to him, or Vader did it to him, and now you think after the 2nd time he'd learn to just stop with the little magic fingers.
Yeah, stop with the magic fingers.
Just force choke her. Just choke her.
That was working a lot better.
The force choke works great. Vader used it all the time.
The lightsaber.
Yeah, I mean, remember when he was bouncing around like a crazy lunatic and cutting people down with his red lightsaber? I will say this: I did like Kylo Ren when he had his lightsaber, how he did that one move where he would hold it backwards, and like he would always and he'd have the lightsaber pointed down, and when
he approached Rey
and I can't remember which samurai movie it is, that there was the one samurai that fought with the blade like that, and he always kept it, and then he would come out with cuts like this, and he fought with the samurai. It's an old Akira Kurosawa movie, but there was one in the 7 Samurai. There's one of the samurai that fights like that, and I always thought that looked cool. So I thought that was neat that Ben or Kylo Ren fought with that purpose. So we defeat the Emperor.
Life swap.
What?
Life swap. Force swap.
So we defeat the Emperor. Rey is gonna die. Ben isn't dead.
She did.
She was dead for a short while.
But he comes up and
to shout Rey.
Yeah. And he goes because he felt it or whatever, which leaves the Finn the whole anybody can be a Jedi kind of thing. Which whatever, who cares? He transfers his life into her, and they kiss.
Yes, they do.
And then he dies.
Forget about fan service. This entire movie is fan fiction that is no better than what you would read on Reddit. That's what fans on Reddit would write.
Why would they kiss? Why it was so dumb. I was like, okay.
It would have been more to me. It would have been more if they just had a short embrace where she's like, Ben, you're back. You've completely come back to the light side. You saved my life. give him a hug, and then because he gave all of his Force essence, he eventually passed away. Having the kiss, just to me, after all the crap he's done over not that long ago, short period of time, the kiss seemed over the top. It's like they just wanted that kiss scene in there because they didn't have any real love scenes in this entire movie. It seemed forced.
Yeah,
no pun intended.
So whatever. It was they smooch because they're in love, whatever. And but then he dies, and then he evaporates, meaning that
he's a Jedi.
Well, but the thing was, it was like Darth Vader didn't get to evaporate, and there have been many Jedi that we've seen killed that didn't evaporate. Look at all the Jedi that got killed, in like Qui-Gon didn't evaporate.
He evaporated at the exact same time Leia evaporated.
Yep. So maybe Leia took him with her.
Maybe, but
they cut back to her disappearing at that moment that he disappears.
Yep.
I mean, we're arguing about the rules of space ghost magic.
Any rules we want to apply. It's more a question of the rules of just good storytelling.
Yes.
Be consistent.
Well, I mean, but the thing is,
well, no, not even be consistent. I mean, just do good things instead of bad things. Do things that make the audience not say, "Oh, all right, I guess that happened."
Yeah, I mean, because his grandfather, Darth Vader, he at the last moment, which I went back and I watched Return of the Jedi again, which is like, and everybody's always said, "Oh, Return of the Jedi suck because the Ewoks and stuff like that." The final moment where Anakin says, "Tell your sister you were right about me." It's like and the John Williams like sad Imperial March music in the background. It's like that's like if you think about the whole movies, all the movies put together, and like just the path that Anakin Skywalker went on, like that's sad. It's like it can really it's like that moment is
a tragic story.
Yeah, it's a fab. And now here we have. I mean, why couldn't she just bring his body back with her? And they couldn't do the funeral pyre again. I mean, or something.
I mean, they did everything else again. Might as well.
So I was like, I was like, okay, fine, whatever. The giant Sith temple and all the minions. First of all, why didn't the minions immediately just descend and kill her? But no, the temple crashes into the swamps, and like we get to see like the rubble being smashed into these people, and she escapes. She's fine. She finds a ride. She gets out.
Red 5. She gets out on Red 5.
Red 5, baby. So
standing by.
Yeah. So they get back. I could not fucking hate more the "here's your medal, Chewbacca" moment than anything. I know a lot of people are like, well, thank God he finally got his medal. No, fuck that, because Chewbacca doesn't even care about the medal. He never did. Hey Chewbacca, you barely got any moments at all in this movie.
Other than getting captured like a bitch.
Yeah, he got captured like a biatch. You died. We brought you back to life. You headed off and had a Colt 45 with Lando, but here, first of all, we're gonna have Maz give you. First of all, Maz, where'd you get the lightsaber? Well, that's the story from the. I want to know the story. I want to know how she got that effing lightsaber and why it was in a box in her cantina basement. But we'll never find out. That's just.
Unless
whatever.
It's on Disney Plus.
Yeah. So, but here, Chewie, here's your medal. Which, okay, total fan service moment. And I thought that, like, literally, I probably was in a B or B minus, and that brought me down. I was just like, no, that's just. It could not have been more of a worthless moment, in my opinion.
And I will speak up to defend it, just because it wouldn't be a Star Wars discussion if I didn't vehemently disagree with Lance about some stupid thing.
Can I go get my popcorn?
I totally forgot the age-old Louis didn't get his medal at the end of New Hope. I totally forgot about that because that's always struck me as such a stupid thing. So I didn't get that level. To me, that moment was Maz giving Chewie Han's medal.
Yeah.
This is the representation of everything heroic that your friend stood for.
Yeah, because if you remember, Leia was clutching that medal when she laid down.
Yeah, when she died, she dropped it. Yeah, that's the last thing she was clutching. And if I have one complaint retroactively now about Last Jedi, it was the dice somehow represent, Han and his connection to everything, when in fact it's a brilliant storytelling device. That the metal is the representation of Han giving up being a scoundrel. He had run away. He was going to go back, but he put it all on the line. And at that moment, he saved the rebellion. That is the moment that Princess Leia fell in love with him. Because think about what she was thinking. I went through all this stuff. We're going to save it. Oh my God, we're all going to die. I've doomed all of these people to die. Luke's going to die. He's not going to save it. This farm kid, what was I thinking? And Han comes out of nowhere. Yoo-hoo, kid, let's blow this thing and get out of here. And he saves the day. And he gets that medal. And that is a talisman. That is a token of everything that makes Leia love Han. It's the last thing she held as she died. And so to me, that was powerful that, okay, well, Chewie, you have to have this. Not because of the fan service. And you're right. It could very well be just because they did the fan service thing. But to me, there was an emotional resonance there.
I have to agree with Rado on this one. I also thought it was more of an emotional touch.
Okay, I mean, with you saying that it's Han's medal, like think about that. Okay, maybe I can give it less of a scathing rip apart. But it's
not like she just grabbed a random medal and said, "Chewie, you deserve a medal." That medal was Han's
if that
medal.
was Han's medal, then okay, then that's cool.
And I will point out that I'm sure most people didn't realize that.
Well, here's what's
not make that clearer. And that's because that medal was not established in Last Jedi. They established the dice. And the reason they did that is because there was originally supposed to be a scene establishing those dice in Han Solo and
Solo,
the first of the three movies, where all that stuff got cut, and Rian Johnson's left with this, what's this dice thing? Well, I guess I'll commit to it because they said it was going to be in these other movies. And so it's a shame that all of that wasn't about his medal or something. That would have been a way to knit all this stuff together more nicely.
Okay, so I'm going to say this. So this is like kind of because you mentioned like, oh, the medal's iconic. My son said something to me. I believe it was today, or it might have been yesterday. But my son, and I will say this, as the lights went down at Rise of Skywalker, I was in the movie theater with my father and my son and my daughter.
3 generations, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, and I had my son sat next to my dad, and I was on the right of and my daughter was here, I'm here, my son's here, my dad's over there, and like it was a wonderful moment because of the fact that like I remember my dad taking me to the movie, and it was just like, and I have a picture and I've saved it, and it's just like I posted it, and it's just like of those two, his grandson and my dad watching very attentively. Like I was wondering if my son was gonna be able to make it through like 2+ hours of a movie without having to go to the bathroom. He was on it, but he said something. He was like, he said to me, "Dad, what's your favorite weapon in Star Wars that isn't a lightsaber? What do you think's the coolest weapon?" And I said, I said the bowcaster, Chewie's bowcaster. He's like, "No, it's Han Solo's gun." And I remember being a kid and Han Solo's like blaster pistol that was based off of like the Luger. Yeah, it was based off the German Luger. I was like, and the fact that like my son has like he watches Solo over and over again. He loves that movie. And but yeah, I thought that was cool. He was like, "Really?" Yeah, I was like, "That's true." When I was a kid, it was like if you had the Han Solo blaster pistol, that was like the cool gun to have if you're going to be playing Star Wars outside. So anyway, but it's because I think that's like Millennium Falcon is iconic to Han Solo, but I think his blaster pistol is like the icon for him. That isn't the medal. That has more to it. You can't really go to sleep with a blaster pistol.
So before you end the credits, what did you think about the final homage of Rey burying the lightsabers on Tatooine?
Well, before that, this is a moment that I actually very, very much like because
lesbian kiss?
No.
I wasn't going to mention that.
Or you mean the blurred out in the background? Make sure, whatever. Good.
You know, the only thing great about it. Okay, at least let Rose have a lesbian kiss, if nothing else.
Well,
even took that from her.
She got
Otto, get over it, right?
She's in love with Finn. How's she gonna?
Was also given nothing to do, and Billy Lord could have been really built up, as a tribute to Princess Leia. I mean, she was a not insignificant character in the last film, and here she's just back to holding water for people.
Yeah, basically.
Anyway,
so
go on.
But no. There's a moment where it's Rey and Finn, and Poe has his Han Solo moment where he basically like, hey, you want to go? And she just shakes her head. The not actually Carrie Russell, her body double, because she doesn't have any lines. And he's like, oh, okay, I guess I guess, hey, I saved the universe, baby. Don't you kind of owe this to me? Just kind of like, the kind of thing and whatever. But then you had a moment where it was the new heroes, Rey and Finn and Poe, and they're all embracing, and it's Luke's X-wing is in the foreground, and in the background is Millennium Falcon, just like how New Hope ended, when all three of them, the original heroes, are hugging because they've won. And it's like, and I saw it and I was like, that's nice.
I missed that actually. I saw the embrace. I didn't put it together though. I didn't.
Yeah. So it's just like it was like this perfect kind of like callback to the original three, and these are now like the new three, right? And it's just kind of like, which who knows if they're ever going to do more stuff with these three characters. Who knows if they ever will? But I thought that was a very cool moment. So then we cut to the new ending.
Before we cut to the final,
yeah,
another missed opportunity, which I fully expected was going to happen going in, as it's the final film. I was expecting the death of the Millennium Falcon. I was expecting there to be a really big emotional beat where Lando takes it down with him, and he's the last pilot. To make some kind of big noble sacrifice. But in a movie where nobody sacrifices anything, because there's even a hint of anybody dying, don't worry, it'll be back in less than 10 minutes. I guess there's no room for it. But I still remember how hard it hit me when the Enterprise went down in Search for Spock.
And what a great line too, where Kirk says, "What have I done?" And Bowen says, "What you do every time. You take an impossible situation, you give us a chance to survive."
I know. And so I wanted a moment like that for the Falcon, and it didn't really get one. And that's kind of a bummer. I mean, it's fine. It just seems like a really missed opportunity. But I don't know.
They got to keep selling Falcon toys, though. So.
Well, yeah, no, and that was great. To go back to that story, it's like, there's no one here. The ship is talking. What's it saying? 7, 6, 5.
Silly Klingons.
Just such dumb Klingons.
Oh, Jim from Taxi Klingon.
Well, you won't give me the Genesis? Well, okie dokie. My apologies for the horrible Christopher Lloyd, but
no, that was good. That was good stuff.
No, okay, so
Christopher Lloyd is proud wherever he is.
Yeah.
Yes, we go back to
Did we lose Christopher Lloyd?
No,
he's still alive, isn't he?
I think he is.
Yeah, he's doing crappy Back to the Future tie-in commercials for insurance.
Oh, okay. Wherever he is, you made it sound like he had passed on into the ether.
Oh no.
No.
Gotta be a second.
Okay, so then we have our weird ending where she goes back to the homestead, the Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen homestead, and she force pushes Luke and Leia's. Why would Leia's lightsaber go back?
Leia had no ties to Tatooine at all.
No ties to that spot at all. But
unfortunately, there's no Alderaan, so I guess
there's no Alderaan. Maybe she brought a chunk of Alderaan with her and put it there.
Those go big on the black market. Alderaan moon rocks.
Yeah,
crazy for it.
Force pushes the because she's a Jedi. She doesn't use a shovel. Force pushes them into the ground. And
is she like taking over ownership of the farm? I mean, the way it seems like she's like living there now with the Millennium Falcon and BB-8.
Water right going on there.
And then thank you, Kabuki Kid. I was wondering if anybody would pick up on that, but I'm pretty sure like Kabuki Kid is like my alternate personalities that's out there, because like we are on the same wavelength for all this stuff. But okay,
other sentences, I'm sure.
So then So then we have old woman come out of nowhere for no reason, well, except for exposition. So exposition grandma shows up, and then we get Ray, who had told Burning Man child earlier that it's just Ray and she doesn't have a last name, and then she decides that her name is Ray Skywalker, which I think is bullshit because she's not a Skywalker. She's a Palpatine, and wouldn't it be much better for her
Be
to
who you are
be who she is
and change the name?
No,
Change the
no,
narrative.
no, 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 no. I'm going to disagree with you here because the whole point, I mean, that is the central thematic message here, which, as I understand it, is landing really well with a lot of people, that you are not defined by where you came from. You do not have to carry that with you. If you come from a bad place, you are perfectly within your rights and you are encouraged and supported to reinvent yourself. And that is what she's done. She has cast off her heritage. And she, because at long last, after 3 movies of searching for it, she finally knows where her true family was. So that's a nice button that I thought worked perfectly fine.
I was like, whatever. I mean, at this point, I was so checked out of the movie. I was just like,
that pretty much guarantees they're done with Rey stories because they said this was the end of the Skywalker saga, and if she's taking the name of Skywalker, she's done in the movies because they're not going to redo anything with her anymore.
Well, it just, I think, Richard, when we talked very briefly about, after you'd seen it, and you said you walked out of the movie theater with a great giant galactic shrug. The movie, like, it's as it more percolates in my mind, it's just getting worse, and it's getting worse for, like, I think Last Jedi is horrible because of the fact of the fact that it took the things that I love about Star Wars and it just basically gave it the middle finger.
I disagree.
We're not going down that. We're not going down that road. We're not going down that road.
Yes.
Okay. So, but
just for the
here's what I can say about Last Jedi. At least Last Jedi was a very well crafted story.
Yes. One you didn't agree with.
One that I thought, but the story wasn't for me. It was like, I know why people like it. I know it, but I think that it was just a big fuck you to the stuff that I love. So I didn't like that movie. I just didn't like what they did, and I didn't like the way that they took the characters and whatever. Now here we have The Last Jedi, which has these moments and these characters and these whatever, and they have this giant burden of The Last Jedi on top of it, and I don't know what I would have preferred. I honestly don't know what I would have preferred. Would I have preferred they just double down on all the things that Last Jedi did and continue that story and tell an entirely different story?
It would have been a new story.
Yes.
That would have been a good thing.
But can we have the new story be after the 9? I mean, just after the 9 movie. Get done with the 9. Now go and take a giant shit on Star Wars. I'd have my 9 movies. And I'd be okay,
I always respected George Lucas's prequels for how bold and daring they were, how he didn't repeat himself, and every frame of every one of those movies was something new and different and fresh that expanded that universe. And watching these 3 new movies just makes me double down on how amazing George Lucas is as a storyteller and a world builder in the way that these new artists, with the exception of Rian Johnson, who did actually genuinely interesting things with what he was given, as opposed to just vomiting up the stuff from our childhood. And Rian Johnson left them with a gorgeous opportunity to tell a new story in Star Wars. Forget about insurgency, forget about rebels and rebellion. There are 10 or fewer people who have to topple an empire that is ascendant. How about for once you follow through with what Kylo Ren was set up. I thought it was beautiful. One of the coolest things about the first one was introducing Kylo Ren as a character who is the inverse of, he wants to be dark and he is pulled back to the light. That's really, really cool. That is a neat idea. And Rian Johnson took that idea and ran with it and left us with a Kylo Ren who we firmly believe, who was fully set up to say, no, he is not going to get the typical, okay, he's got to come back to the light and sacrifice himself, just like every hackneyed fanfic plot you could ever read anywhere. And put us in a situation where they're so desperate. There are 10 of them. But let us not forget, as yet another fuck you to JJ with the whole, it took, like you said, it took a Colt 45 on the Lando tour to bring everybody back. A major theme of Last Jedi was the fact they made a big deal about how, okay, the galaxy has turned our back on the rebellion. We're done. We're just going to go back into our hidey holes and live our lives. And what did it take to wake the galaxy up? What was the final image? It was the inspiration that Luke Skywalker, a living legend, brought that inspired new generations of kids. The Horse Broom Kid was inspired by that. That is an amazing, fertile, creative ground. You've got a half a dozen people. You've got an entire galaxy who are inspired now, but don't know what to do. And you've got a villain that doesn't just that you could let the villain grow into being a full villain. And we went on that journey with him. That would have been amazing instead of 50% fetch quest and 50% third act of Return of the Jedi, with a couple of cool little moments here and there. And I mean, God, he gave them the ball. They were at the 5-yard line and they fumbled.
They threw an interception. They forgot to hand it off to Lynch.
Yep, that was a good callback there.
So I would be curious to see what everyone's letter grade would be for the Mandalorian series, and then compare them to what our grades are for this new trilogy. All 3 movies in one letter grade.
Okay, well, I will say this about and once again, we'll give people, if you're watching this and you've already seen Rise of Skywalker and you haven't watched Mandalorian and you don't want any of that stuff ruined for you, by all means, get out and don't have any of this ruined for you. So apart from, I think, and I'll let other people chat here. I think that The Mandalorian is doing a couple of things very, very well. I think it is telling a very, very interesting story about a character that is completely outside of the normal spectrum of the people that are like that we've been following in the Star Wars, which gives me hope that the Star Wars universe can start telling us lots of stories about these other worlds of whatever. This is a weird comparison, but in D&D terms, like I'm always like, if you think of the grand scope of things, like D&D, like you have your weekly session, you have your murder hobo group that you're going around in, and if you're playing in the Forgotten Realms is this giant epic universe of all these crazy things happening, but what you're doing is super, super important to you and your murder hobos, and you're trying to whatever, like take down this demon lord or whatever. It doesn't affect anything else that's going on in the world, but it affects this like little 50-mile radius. So Mandalorian is like, there's this story, which is basically, it's become Lone Wolf and Cub. If you've read that,
everybody's read it.
Yeah, everybody's read Lone Wolf and Cub. Lone Wolf and Cub, if you haven't read it, is a fantastic manga. Yeah, which lasted, how many books was it? It was a lot, but it told if you have a week to read it all, it is a very, very good. I have a lone wolf as part of my tattoo on my leg. So and basically that's what this is. It's become Mandalorian is basically a bounty hunter. He sells his soul for money. And doesn't have any ethics, but for whatever reason he starts to have his ethics because of Baby Yoda, which whatever. There was a couple episodes I didn't really like, but then when I got done watching the 8 episodes, I realized that was kind of okay. Like how X-Files would do. Oh, hey, here we're going to build on our world. Let's have a Monster of the Week episode that didn't build on the world at all, right?
Take your mind off everything for a week and then
yeah. So basically, the 7 Samurai episode of the story which basically which
You're right. Yeah. The save the little village.
Save the village, like which
Training
is
them.
one of my favorite memes of all time is the picture of the seven samurai, and it's like alignment lawful good because somebody has to save your shitty little town. Yeah, just like, so I always like that. But so yeah, they basically had this moment where they just say that that episode was like it didn't push like really the story forward at all. It just basically it was just let's just take some time, and that was episode 4, I think that was, if that's my memory, if my memory is serving me correctly.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. But no, it's told a really, really good story. And one thing I really, really love is the end credits. They show the basically the artist representations of the scenes, like that they must have had the
concept art.
The concept art for the different moments, which I love the fact that they do that.
Yeah, it is very cool. Although sometimes it shows how much cooler the moment was going to be in the original concept art.
That is true. Yeah,
but still, it is very neat. Yeah.
And I think the reason why I think it's going as well. One thing I really, really thought, and this is kind of crummy of me, because you had that episode 4, which was basically the Seven Samurai episode, but then they basically just had like 2 episodes later where they basically had like the raid on the space station to the jailbreak thing, which had no bearing whatsoever, but like it wasn't a retread of like something we've seen over and over again. So maybe that was my problem with episode 4. But I really did like the fact that like they basically had like they broadcast out, and then those X-Wings showed up to attack that space station at the end, which kind of made me think, okay, so what era is this in? Like there's like, I mean, obviously there's like this, how far are we, right? Have they said, is it like after?
Yes, it is
9?
between the second and third trilogy.
Yeah,
the
after
Empire
Return.
I mean, they talk about that in the first episode, that the Empire is gone, and so it's kind of chaos. The new Galactic Republic has not really established itself, and it's every man for himself out in the Outer Rim.
Yeah, it's between 6 and 7. So there's always the possibility that characters from the original trilogy, not that they will, but they could show up in this, or any of the people in the sequels before they become who they are.
Did. Effectively, they had, because I mean, I definitely agree with Lance that it shows great promise for the Star Wars universe that something other than the cartoons can successfully expand the mythos. But would this show be anywhere near successful if it was Baby Watto?
Nope.
Because strictly speaking, it should be exactly the same. Nothing changes, but it's because for all intents and purposes they brought Yoda back, and and that's a big crutch that they use.
And we still don't know what they're planning on doing with him either. We don't know what their intention is with this Force-sensitive creature that looks very similar to Yoda. So,
yeah.
I mean, it could be nothing. It could just be a side thing to kind of take everyone's mind off of
they're going to go find its planet. I believe that's that's his next quest, is to go take it home, wherever home might be. Real life interferes with the boom.
Yeah, no. Just like my wife is slow cooking something for herself to take to work tomorrow. So she was like, "Can you put this in a container when I go to bed, and it'll be done then." So anyway, I mean, Mandalorian is very well done. It's being very, very, very well created, I guess, and once again, it just shows how maybe because I think Jon Favreau is he's taking it, and one, he's not directing the episodes, he's just kind of being the guiding force, and he's writing.
The Kevin Feige of Star Wars.
Yeah. And so, but what he's doing is he's allowing us to have fan service, and also like let's play with this world, and let's be kind of fast and loose with some of the rules that you're accustomed to. And but so I think he's doing what I think if Rian Johnson had done a little more fan service and not so much just let's fuck with everything. That Last Jedi could have been a much better film. And admittedly, I'm in my own world in that, or I'm.
You mean a much more well regarded film, I think.
Yeah, there you go. And this is just proof that the guy who wrote and directed Swingers just really knows his craft. I can remember the first time somebody said you got to see this movie.
Iron Man proved that.
Yeah, Iron Man.
Go back to his first movie, Swingers. That movie is great.
It's fantastic.
It's a fantastic movie, and this guy just knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I
love The Mandalorian every time it was actually doing something fresh and exciting and I didn't see coming a mile away, because I am usually the last person to see anything coming. I try to go out of my way to say, oh, I bet that's what's going to happen. But for well over half of The Mandalorian, like I said, The Seven Samurai, you know exactly how that's going to play out for beat for beat. And you know exactly how I'm dropping off my cargo. You know what? By the end of the show, he's going to have gone back in, save the kid, and it's put him on the run. We know this is exactly what's going to happen. Oh, and he's in trouble. The other Mandos, they're going to come and save him. All of these things are going to happen. But I was so pleased with it when he spends almost an entire episode chasing Jawas. That was awesome. And when you have 10 freaking minutes of a couple of speeder guys beating up Baby Yoda.
That was awesome. Shooting, missing the cup or missing the
entire. Of course, that show used to exist. It was called Troops. So it brought back very fond memories of that fan film series. So when those moments were happening, I was in love with it. But
what did you guys think about the most recent episode with the dark blade at the end?
Yeah, that was cool. That's fine. I guess it's all tied in with the cartoons because that's a former man. Or should I spoil it? I guess I shouldn't spoil it in case people want to be.
We already told everyone it's off. The Mandalorian is going to be spoiled, so it's not.
Well, no. I'm saying I'd be spoiling stuff that's going to happen in season 2 because I know what that speculation. It was revealed in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, but that's speculation. They don't have to.
No, it's not speculation. It's known for a fact that blade has a name. It has a history. It has been revealed in the Clone Wars cartoons.
Yeah.
We know it's that exact same blade.
Why does this guy have it?
Do we know it's the exact same blade and there's not another one?
No, it's a very specific. I'll tell you if you want.
Yeah.
Okay. It is basically back at the heyday of the Mandalorians before they were wiped out by the Jedi. They, as part of their warrior race, the first Mandalorian to ever become a Jedi, he has a specific name to make himself stand out. He fashioned that black negative blade. It's the only one that's ever been made. And so it is a Mandalorian / Jedi artifact. So it is weighted with potential because, of course, the Mandalorians and the Jedi used to be at war with each other, but he was the one Mandalorian who became a Jedi and made his own special blade that was unlike any other one. So it's very appropriate that it would appear in this show held by, by the way, my favorite thing about the whole show, I love them just calling them imps. I thought that was very cool. That felt really real and lived in. That felt like a perfect note. Of course, this is what they'd call them. So why does this head imp have it? Well, if anybody was going to have it, it would be the villain in a show about Mandalorians. So I think that's really cool. And that's, a nice callback. Not that I've ever watched the cartoons. I really should. I know they're supposed to be awesome.
Yeah, they're just saying the Resistance cartoon gives the whole story for the Darksaber. And I haven't seen that yet. That's why
it wasn't in Clone Wars, it was in Rebels? Okay, my mistake.
Resistance. No, not even Rebels.
Right,
Resistance.
because Rebels has a Mandalorian character, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I guess that's why.
Yeah. I believe the Mandalorian rating will be infinitely higher than this sequel trilogy as a whole when it's all said and done. Right now, it's already way higher for me.
It's a good series. It's pretty much as good as most other things on TV. It's not the best of what TV has to offer, but it's very nice.
It's a good start for them for Disney Plus to have this show on it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
If you're watching it with your family, I think it gets bonus points. Like my son will be in the car and he'll be like, "What was your favorite part of episode 5 of The Mandalorian?" And I'm like, "What? Like, what? Okay, buddy, what happened to that?
Answer the question, Father.
So what's your guys' letter grade for Mandalorian season 1?
A-.
I'm B+.
Yeah, I'll go B+ as well. Yeah, it's
C+.
I mean, it's just kind of. I mean, it's been fun to watch it. I mean, the fact that my son has come back and he's like, "There's a new episode." Like he'll see it on Disney Plus, and he'll be like, "There's a new episode. We got to watch it." And so he's excited to sit there and watch this world get played out for him, which I like that, and I like that I get to share that with him. So that's why it's a B+. It is very generic, episodic TV, though. I mean,
I honestly think it's exactly what Star Wars needs. Take 3 or 4 years off of the movies, focus on this TV series and maybe another one that's done similarly, and you can get Star Wars back to where it needs to be.
Well, funny you should say. I think that's the problem with the
very excited about the Obi-Wan series.
Yes.
But honestly, not because of Star Wars, but because I just have such a man crush on Ewan McGregor. I think he is the bee's knees.
Yeah, I think he'll do it a great deal of justice. Now, I
hello there.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where you know what the cool thing about I love that when Alec Guinness says the "well, hello there," it's like even though it was never intended, you get to actually like know that like if you can actually see it's like Alec Guinness would be seeing R2-D2 and he'd be like, "Well, hello there, my old friend." Just like the fact that oh my gosh,
keep it cool, Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
cool. I gotta lie to this kid about his dad.
Yeah. Why I have no idea. But just, yeah, no, they're doing
truth.
I mean, I liked the IG-11 was a very cool character, and IG-11 had some of the like best moments in the entire show. I mean, when he's first introduced and he's just sitting there just like blasting everybody away. I mean, and then and then obviously he gets destroyed. But then in the last episode, he gets to sacrifice himself, but also the whole scene of him on the speeder bike, putting the baby behind him, and just it was really well done. I thought having Nick Nolte voice the Queel, I thought that was perfect gruff person, and I like the fact that they killed him. It wasn't one of those things where it was like
could have been a recurring role with a famous actor. It would have been probably good for the show, but they didn't have any problems killing him off.
But it wasn't one of those things where it was like, he got knocked unconscious or something. No, he was killed. I mean,
they buried him at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're playing for keepsies, in this world. It is a very grim and desperate world. I like the fact that you have the stormtroopers in dirty armor, and they're. I thought, okay, so basically, after I can't think of the actor's name right now, but basically he chewed the scenery as the bad guy in Breaking Bad and did an amazing job. Esposito is his last name. I can't think of his first name though.
I want to say Alfonso or Alonzo or something like that.
Yeah, but Esposito. So as Moff Gideon. So I thought that was like, okay, that was
Giancarlo.
Cool. Giancarlo, thank you, Giancarlo Esposito. So basically, he had this breakthrough role on Breaking Bad. So now he can never play anything except for a very cold and calculating evil man. It's like that's going to be his role from here on out. He can cash those paychecks all day long. So they make this character. And I was like, okay, and then he blows up his TIE fighter and he's dead. But I was like, oh, and I thought it was like, and he's got some sort of Force dark energy sword that he cuts
You
himself.
want to know? I told everybody else while you were gone. There is actually meaning to that.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to know, but I mean, the show will eventually reveal it. You would know if you'd watched all of Star Wars Rebels.
Oh well, yeah. Why? What's the meaning behind it?
Millennia ago, the Mandalorians and the Jedi were at war. As like a big part of their backstory. And there was a Mandalorian who went on to become the first Jedi, the first Mandalorian Jedi, much like Worf was the first Starfleet officer. You know, that kind of a really big moment within the pantheon of history. And when he did, when he became a Jedi, he made that black saber. It's the first, and as far as I know, only Mandalorian to ever be a Jedi. He made this special one-of-a-kind saber, and this is a legend of weapon, a weapon of legend. And so, the question is, how has Esposito gotten it? But as I was saying when you were gone, if there was any show when some Imperial officer would have it, it should be in a show all about Mandalorians. That this ancient Mandalorian artifact is going to show up because. Mando should know what that is, and that has a really big important meaning for him and his people.
Fair
so
enough.
That's cool. Apparently, I don't know that. I've not seen Rebels, but that's what I read. I saw that. Hey, you want to know the story of that black sword? It has a name and stuff, but I don't know what it all is.
Very good. Well,
yeah,
there you go. So I mean, it's hopefully they don't screw it up. But you know, and which is always my fear, right? That they'll make some mistake and they'll take a shit in their pants and you know, like. But
I think
they're doing well so far.
Favreau's behind the wheel, I don't think it's going to steer too far off course. I think they're going to keep it pretty tight to the chest and keep it in the right direction. I have a lot of faith in him, more than I have faith in anyone else in the Star Wars, you know. Leadership.
More to the point, I'm less worried because Kevin Feige is taking over everything.
Oh, yes, true. And that's another, there's your rock star.
It's fine.
It's going to be fine. Those two at the helm is going to make Star Wars great again.
So do we have new Star Wars movies that would be like Star Wars 10, 11, 12? I mean, do we have another trilogy?
They were originally supposed to go to the Game of Thrones guys until they backed out. So now they're in limbo. That was the next trilogy was supposed to be from the Dave and Dave.
Thank God they backed out.
Thank good, exactly, right?
Yeah,
We'd have Starbucks cups on the Death Star.
So yeah, thank goodness that is.
Lucky Kid pointed out that apparently Keanu Reeves is being courted for a Knights of the Old Republic movie.
Oh, be still my bird.
Oh, my wood is hard. That would be awesome.
Talk about a guy. Well, you know what? I want to see the next Bill and Ted movie before I crown him. You know,
I like Keanu Reeves regardless. I mean, look at John Wick. Those movies are great.
Well, 2 and 3 were, you know, but the first John Wick is really, really, really good. I will fully admit. I mean, what a wonderful world they created for that John Wick world.
I know Force, dude.
Yeah, and just and I'll say that. I mean, Keanu, you know, basically he reinvented himself with the John Wick role. I mean, and the John Wick role was fantastic.
And he does good action stuff. I mean, I know he's a lot older now, but his action scenes in The Matrix were all great. He did a lot of his own stunts too. I mean, he could pull off being a Elder Republic Jedi. I could see that.
Yeah,
or Sith.
Or Sith. Yeah, true.
Yeah, let's not pigeonhole him here.
Let's see Dark Keanu.
Yeah,
it's all spiritual stuff.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's just like the nicest thing now is I feel like I can just kind of let Star Wars go too. Like I got my 9, I got my 42 years complete. I can watch Mandalorian. Cool. If they come out when they come out with the Obi-Wan, I can watch that. But I don't feel like I have to. I don't feel like I have to go and do anything else, right? I don't feel like I need to watch. Oh, yeah, sure, I will. But I mean, I made it. I got to see all 9 of them.
The biggest opportunity they have to make something really epic would be casting Keanu Reeves as a Jedi or a Sith in the Old Republic and having the guy that played Bill be his nemesis. How awesome would that be to see those two lightsaber fight? It would just the potential. The
Yeah.
potential.
And can we get Gary Busey as well to be his sidekick?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And can he say,
Totally.
"I am an FBI agent"? While he's at it.
Yeah.
Can the
Well,
bus not go below 50?
Or a Force Ghost George Carlin giving him advice.
All easy.
So like if you're gonna like, okay, so talking about like I remember one thing. So Rey then shows the fact that she made her own lightsaber, which is of course like one of the major parts of becoming a Jedi.
I like that it was yellow. It's almost like an homage to the Kenner toy where Luke's lightsaber and his Tatooine figure was yellow by mistake until they changed the color.
Well,
apparently there's an important backstory to that too. For you see, there have never been any yellow-bladed ones, with the exception of the temple guards, who were not actual Force adepts, but were
Sentinels.
just trained in. So traditionally, the yellow was saved for non-Force users. So what does that mean? That she, a clear Force user, has taken it up? Does that mean a new and different path? Because obviously she's going to set up her new Jedi Academy there. A lot of people like to dig into saber colors.
Well, yeah, because like the blue lightsabers are for the soldiers, the green lightsabers are for the scholars, and the
purple ones are for Samuel L. Jacksons,
and the yellow ones are for sentinels, basically the lawmen of the Jedi. So there's two explanations for Mace Windu's purple. One, he just wanted it so he'd stand out, so he'd be able to see himself in the big battles or whatever. And the second thing is that in Mace Windu's non-canon backstory, they talked about how he was more willing to delve into the dark part of the Force to allow himself to because he was strong and willed enough not to fully be tempted. So his soldier aspect and the red they combined, and it was a purple lightsaber for that reason. Was because he dabbled in the dark force of the Jedi, like dark force Jedis, to battle the Sith, and to understand what they did. And that was there's a lot of like Mace Windu backstory, like how he like was surrounded at one point by 20 of these ultimate supreme guardians or whatever, and all he did was put his hand on his lightsaber and goes, "It's your choice," and they all surrendered instead of fighting him and stuff like that. Like Mace Windu was like the baddest of the badass Jedi when it came to lightsaber dueling. But of course Yoda was the greatest, but Yoda would never say or do anything, like that was too because I think they even they say something like that in one of the prequels as far as Yoda's ability in dueling, but I forget what it was. I can't remember. Anyway, I'm sure Kabuki Kid will pop in.
Yeah, I do believe you're right. I believe that's canon, that supposedly he was the cock of the walk in that regard.
Going back to the originals, I did love the fact there was that moment where Obi-Wan was charging in. He was going to go fight Count Dooku, and then he yells back to Anakin. He says, "Anakin, I need you. I can't take him on my own." Like Obi-Wan knew he was not good enough to take Count Dooku on his own. Like Count Dooku was seriously like a supremely powerful Jedi. There's also I have watched some of Rebels, but I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen a thing, but I mean there's a marvelous scene when Darth Maul and Obi-Wan finally cross paths once again on Tatooine, and Darth Maul is like basically working out why Ben is on Tatooine. And you can find the clip on YouTube, but basically he's sitting there and he works it out and he goes, "You didn't come here to hide." He said, "You came here to protect somebody." And Obi-Wan's like totally like chill and he's like totally fine. And then he goes, he's like, "You're here to protect the boy." And as soon as he says that, Obi-Wan lightsaber goes up. Darth Maul pulls out his he gets his lightsaber, and and they actually paid great homage to the battle that they had originally in the Phantom Menace, where he charges and Darth Maul attempts to do the same move that he used to kill Qui-Gon Jinn, where he hits him with the thing and then spins around and kills Qui-Gon. And he tries to do that, but Obi-Wan, like the battle lasts a half a second. He tries to do that, and Obi-Wan just steps back and he cuts his lightsaber in two and kills Darth Maul with one stroke. And Darth Maul says, as he's dying, he says, "Is it the chosen one that you're protecting?" And he says, "Yes, it is." And he goes, "He will avenge all of us." And it's like this wonderful moment where you're like,
"Oh, that's cool."
Yeah, he says he says, is he saying like all of the Jedi, Sith, or is he saying he's going to avenge all of the Sith? It's like it's a great moment where you don't really know what Darth Maul's saying at that moment.
I think that really summarizes my problem with the new trilogy. Is just that little story you told me, which I'm sure you've seen for myself, has so much more weight and meaning to me because I do know that George Lucas was involved every step of the way with that show. And he was giving sign off for everything. So everything that happens in that show is real Star Wars, because to me, it's not real Star Wars if George Lucas didn't sign off on it.
That's true.
And so all this new stuff is all fan fiction. None of it has any real bearing or weight. And so when you said earlier that, okay, the whatever you call a 9-part series, it's not a trilogy. The trilogy times 3 is finally over. For me, there just never was a 3 because there's these other 3 movies that some fans made. But since George Lucas had nothing to do with it, they're not real. They're not Star Wars. They're this other thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot to that. And the thing is that everybody loves... He's still with us.
He would have come in for meetings.
Yeah. Everybody loves to shit on George Lucas, but it's like, and lots of people like to shit on the prequels. And the thing is
a lot of people are saying they like the prequels better.
I'm a huge prequel fan. I will happily go down that rabbit hole anytime anybody wants to hear how great they are.
I don't need to know how good. What's your rating for the prequels compared to the rating for the sequels? That's a good comparison. Now we're
miles above the sequels.
Oh yeah, I mean,
so you're saying prequels are probably B-, C+, and the sequels are probably D-.
I'm going to give prequels as a whole, as a story, I'm going to give them an A- because the only problem with the prequels, but aside from early CGI that looks a little outdated now, but you'll forgive that because it was all very important and it was good iterative steps for the industry. The only problem with the prequels is George Lucas did not work with Lawrence Kasdan to touch up to fix his script. Because George Lucas is the first to admit, I'm really not good at dialogue. I never argued with Harrison Ford when he wanted to change my dialogue back in the day because my dialogue is shit. And unfortunately, his story was great. His world building was galaxy class, but his dialogue what he was attempting to do was beyond his capabilities. Because what I've always loved about the prequels is the line from New Hope from Obi-Wan is, I forget the exact wording. I'm sure Lance knows it. It's a blade from a more civilized time.
Yeah,
something like that. That's what George Lucas was trying to show us. He was trying to show us that civilized time that Obi-Wan was talking about, and he was effectively making a Merchant Ivory film. He was trying. That's why everybody is so wooden and stilted and formal with their presentation, because he gave the actors who are good actors. Natalie Portman is an amazing actress, but he gave them very clear. Look, I want you to be like you're in a Jane Austen inspired movie. And that's why they all speak very formally, very slowly, always standing stock upright. And that was a good idea, but he did not have the chops to pull it off, and he needed a writing partner. And that's the only problem with the prequels. I love the plot beats. I love how the universe is expanded. Really, everybody calls it the Skywalker saga. It's the freaking Palpatine saga. Is really what all these movies are.
Well, and let's give credit.
He's the one who ends it, and then unfortunately ends it a second time in the movie we all just saw.
So Ian McDiarmid,
I love how all that stuff works. All the hints that are dropped. That now you have big, rich. The Clone Wars is apparently an amazing series. Rebels is an amazing series, and it's all because George gave us all these tasty nuggets.
Yeah, and Ian McDiarmid totally makes the prequels. As far as if you just pause and realize, like there are times when I sit down and I'm trying to create a D&D campaign, and I'm like, how am I going to make my Ian McDermott like the how am I going to make the evil person that nobody expects is the evil person? Because I mean, yeah, there's a lot of like problems with the script, but I mean, like his plan, yeah, like what an amazing puppet master of the whole situation. I mean, I like the prequels. I mean, there's parts I don't like, obviously the whole Jar Jar stuff, and it's just kind of dumb.
It's for kids.
It's for kids.
And again, there was nothing wrong with it in theory. He just needed a writing partner who could have come up with something that adults could enjoy as well. Because the kids did enjoy Jar Jar, by and large, for the most part. Not all kids, but most kids did. And it's just that if he'd had a writing partner, if Lawrence Kasdan had been there every step of the way, we would have been able to enjoy him on a different level. And he didn't. He wrote it all himself, and that's really my only problem. I will passionately defend midichlorians. I think they're important. Because again, it's back to what I was talking about. The problem with the Jedis at that time frame, they had become so staid and dogmatic and set in their ways, they had completely lost contact with connection to the Force, which is why they talk about in the movies, we don't know what's going on. We feel like we're losing connection with the Force. It's because they have so studied it and analyzed it and quantified it to where they worried more about midichlorian count than the actual feel, because they had dissected it and it had lost its meaning. Qui-Gon Jinn, they talk about it very briefly, is that he's kind of a rebel within the Jedi Order. He doesn't follow rules. He pays more attention to be mindful of the living Force. And yeah, he's the one who has to give the midichlorian count, but you got to know, he's like, who gives a fuck about this? That's important is I feel this kid. I've talked to this kid. I know what it is. I can feel it. Oh, but I have to prove it to you by telling you his midichlorian count because you are so out of touch with the Force, which is why balance needs to be restored, because the Jedi are just as bad as the Sith, or just as out of balance as the Sith. I mean, that's the kind of stuff. If I could have dinner with anybody, I would love to hang out with George Lucas for a few hours and hear how all this stuff fits together and how it all has to do with the wills and all this stuff that he came up with back in the 70s. I'd love to. I just wish he could have gotten his chance to finish his story instead of this thing we got. Sorry.
I often know, and I like your take on that, and that's actually a kind of a refreshing take on the midichlorians for me. But the one thing I always wondered about is that, and I'm sure that somebody knows the reason why. Why did he take forever? I mean, like you'd think, okay, I made Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. I made 20th Century Fox $1 gajillion. Mm-hmm. I often wonder, why did it take so long for him?
There is an answer to that, and it's totally business. I saw in a video some kind of Kenner had the exclusive rights to something or other, and the instant that the instant that after the 20-year period that contract was no longer in effect, a month later the new prequels were announced.
Oh, because he got all the merchandising.
Yep. Something. I don't remember what it was.
But it's all money. Because as long as they kept making toys and making a certain amount of money, the contract kept renewing.
While it made him a billionaire, there was some portion of it that he didn't get that somebody else got because of some contract he had to make, and he was just waiting for that to expire.
The toys that made us talk a lot about that, the Star Wars episode of that.
It was on Netflix.
Yeah, basically the Star Wars contract expired because they had to pay them a minimum of like $10,000 a year in order to keep it. And after the movies had been gone for so long and out of public eye, eventually they stopped selling Star Wars toys, but they kept cutting them a check for $10,000 just to keep the license. And one year they forgot. And as soon as they forgot to make that check, the contract expired. And then Lucas was able to do a new deal, which gave him all the rights to the toy money. And that's when the prequels came back.
And no one can deny that man is good at coming up with toys.
Yep.
Well, so my question then would be, did like with the whole thing with George Lucas is that if it isn't money, I mean, well, obviously the guy's got so much money now, he never needs to. I mean, does anybody know what has he come out and said anything about 7, 8, and 9, like his over?
I don't know if thoughts? I don't think so. Not that I've seen, and I don't know if contractually he's even allowed to talk about them in public. I mean, he signed a $4 billion check from Disney. I'm sure they had a lot of stipulations on his commenting on their take on Star Wars. I'd have to imagine, because I would think by now you would have heard his remarks. I mean, Mark
okay, here we
Hamill's
go.
been very, very vocal, but I don't think
Here's, it says here, 2016 Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which I love. The first film in Star Wars anthology series was released. It told the story of the rebels who told the plans of the Death Star featured, and it was where that Lucas said, "I liked it more than Force Awakens." In 2017, Episode 8, The Last Jedi was released, and Lucas described it as it was beautifully made. Which, what does that
Which is
mean?
like saying the score was fantastic.
Yeah, John Williams did a great job.
Yeah.
Yes. So
has he commented on the Rise of Skywalker yet? Has anyone?
According to this, I'm something like Lucas has cursory involvement with solo Star Wars story and the Star Wars streaming series The Mandalorian. So yeah, there you go. Has pledged to give half of his fortune to charity as part of an effort called the Giving Pledge, led by Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. So I mean, it sounds like he's just a good guy, you know, who happened to be able to make some really popular movies.
Yep. And for a while was the most hated man in all fandom.
Yes.
Yes.
Except for Jake Lloyd.
Yeah, except for Jake
And
Lloyd,
the guy who plays Jar Jar, who almost killed himself.
and Rose.
And now Rose. She carries on that fine tradition.
And that's the reason you didn't get his last three, because people shit on his parade all the time.
I don't know. I think he sold it, but I imagine he had every expectation that he'd still stay in the room, that he would stay on as the Kevin Feige of the ongoing stuff, and that probably suited him just right. And who just disappeared? Oh, yeah. Force hasn't said anything for a while.
Force, man.
Maybe he didn't realize he was still on.
Maybe. Bye, Forrest.
Gotta be up in a few hours. Night, guys. Bye, Forrest, wherever you are. Man, I didn't get to talk to him. Forrest went viral on Twitter a few weeks ago.
What did he do?
He posted a Yang video that got a lot of heat.
Really?
Yeah, because he posted a video. There was a meme of "I support Yang because," and there's lots of people were hashtag "I support Yang" and then putting up videos. And he put up one where he was talking about the freedom dividend and what it would mean for him and his family. And he basically broke down and had a cry over how he doesn't get to spend enough time with his kids and this and that. And so it actually caught quite a bit of traction. People are still liking it. I know because he added me in it. So I kept getting a notice every time more people liked it.
Well, now I got.
It was a very touching little move. I meant to ask him about it. Shoot. I guess it'll have to wait till sometime in the future.
Yeah, here we now I gotta dig this up.
I can probably find it without too much trouble.
Oh yeah, here he is. Because of universal preschool, free marriage counseling, reducing student loan debt, ending active shooter drills, mandatory paid paternity leave, freedom. Yeah, here you go. And this is where. What about you? Well, there you go.
He asked me, and so that's why I saw it. But it did pretty well.
Good. I'm glad that. Well, yeah, Forrest. I like Forrest. I like him a great deal. So, yeah. But there you go. So what was the other? I think that Star Wars is now will just kind of go. This was I think honestly, I think that I think Star Wars is going to just become another thing, right? It was its big giant epicness for me, and now it isn't. And it had a lot to do with these last three movies being kind of just something I didn't mention at all, like how Force Awakens they bring up General Hux as being this really important.
The spot, yeah.
Yeah, they're really important character. They basically make him a buffoon in Episode 8, and then they basically have Episode 9. They kind of make him somewhat weirdly important. He's the spy, and then he gets shot and killed.
That was one of my favorite scenes. Because I genuinely believe that was the original reaction from the guy who plays Poe and Finn. I genuinely believe that's their original reaction to that line.
What? I'm the spy.
Oh, like that wasn't scripted. They said it and then they just reacted and
yes,
they kept
I believe that's their genuine feeling to that line.
Well, and then it was like, oh, well, we're gonna give him redemption, but no, he just wants to see Kylo Ren lose.
Nobody gets redemption in this film. When they start to get redemption, they're dead.
Yeah.
Then
I like the idea. I thought, oh, oh, never mind, it's over.
Well, yeah, and that's another one of those things. Oh, that's an interesting idea. Maybe he'll give his
There's a
life
lot of things
to.
you can do with that.
Yeah, there's a ton of things. Oh no, he's just dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh well.
Oh yes, exactly. Oh well.
Yeah.
And so there we go. So I got my 3 movies to finish off to bookend this, and I never really liked any of them much in any way. They were all at best was like a C. They did what they had to do to get from point A to point B.
But this isn't our movies. This is Ray's story to a new generation. Or
There could have been so many
story.
ways they could have told a Rey story that would have been interesting. I mean,
Sadly,
having her being Palpatine's, that was fine, whatever. It ties her into the whole story, but it would have been so much cooler if it had been like Obi-Wan Kenobi's granddaughter, right? I mean, because then they could have built off of that in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Because then you could have had a thing where he meets somebody and he has a child but he's not supposed
who knows?
to because he's a
Maybe
Jedi.
we will. Maybe he has a daughter, and it's the daughter, and it's the mother of Rey.
Well, maybe, but I mean that's just shoehorning in.
Like Kenobi's daughter and Palpatine's son hooked up at a bar, and next thing you know, here's the Force virgins.
To quote Poe, of course they do.
Yeah, of course they do. Yeah, just. This was just bad. It was just bad.
Just like they said the prequels weren't our Star Wars, that's our kids' Star Wars, and these movies are now our adult kids' Star Wars. It's a generational thing. There's been enough time in between each set that it's hit a new generation.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if these 3 movies have that same kind of generational impact because they're all fine craftsmanship, but they're all no. I love Last Jedi, but nobody cares. And the 2 bookends are hollow fan fiction.
I guarantee that if you take a poll, that the people under the age of 25, 30 probably love this stuff.
Yeah.
And just like back when the prequels came out, my kid loved them. I was okay at the time, and I've grown to appreciate them more since. But at the time, I'm like, this isn't my Star Wars. My Star Wars was the Lucasfilms, and my son's Star Wars is the prequels. And now my adult son liked the new trilogy because he's in his 20s, early 20s. He didn't care that much about the original. He watched them because I watched them, and he watched them with me, and he liked them. But he grew up during the prequels. It's a different generation Star Wars, and I think our nugget is the Disney Plus stuff. I think the stuff that's being done to cater to the fanboys, like The Mandalorian and like hopefully the Obi-Wan series, that's our Star Wars. It's going to be a little more brutal. It's going to be a little more realistic. It's going to be a little more Western. That is the Star Wars for us. And I think these new movies are for the kids and the marketing, but the shows are going to be for the adults and the people who are fans of the original trilogy. And that's okay.
I could buy into that. I could buy into that.
If it gets more people liking Star Wars, then that's what it's intended to do.
You said something that's very important, and I had a lot of problems with these people. There were 2 things a lot of people that wanted to poo-poo on The Mandalorian. They were like, "Oh, this just feels like it's a Western," and it's like, yes, that's exactly what it is. It's a Western. It is Clint Eastwood in it is The Man with No Name.
Just like Firefly, it's a space Western.
Yeah, it's totally a space Western. And the actuality, the YouTube channel
Cinemasker.
Wins or Cinema Wins?
No, it isn't Cinema. But there's the one that they do. These are our favorite best scenes ever. Like they do really really good jobs of. It isn't Cinema Sins or anything like that. It's it's Cinefix. Yeah.
Yes, they're very good.
They rank Star Wars as their #1 Western of all time, which is and they're like, yeah, okay, it's like we're cheating a little, but they explain why they consider it a Western. Yeah. So they do a good job of explaining themselves. So people were kind of poo-pooing it, and I was like, well, that's the whole thing. And then they were also saying, oh, I hate the fact that he never takes off his mask, and I'm like, well, that's like part of the character. And the thing is that in a lot of ways, here we have this marvelous actor who is portraying the Mandalorian, and he has to do so much more work to act the role and to feel what the Mando is feeling, right? That because of the fact that he doesn't get to emote with his face, he has to do it through body language and actions, and I was like, this is really well done. I mean, it's a testament to his ability. I think that's like, I do, like, because perfect example. I remember there was definitely a moment when I watched the first Spider-Man movie, and like there would be the scenes where Spider-Man and the Green Goblin would be talking, and I definitely, because of the fact that like Tobey Maguire didn't have the ability, or the way it was shot, I felt like I was watching Power Rangers for like a brief moment.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, it was just because it was like, oh, what? I can't see either of these people's faces, and they're not emoting with body language or whatever. So I'm not really getting the scene. But I never felt that way in Mandalorian. I felt like everything was really well done. I don't know. I guess I what I want out of Mandalorian going forward is I want it to be, I kind of almost want there to be more of the Monster of the Week moments. Because I kind of like you said, like, I'm chasing down the Jawas, like that was the entire this long portion of that. That was cool. That was fun. You got to see the Jawas in like this whole like defending their treehouse basically. And like, you know, these things that are like these laughing stocks, but here they're actually like, you know, well organized and you know, doing what they do, and I liked that. It was neat. I mean, I liked that whole the basically break into the space station, and the fact that like basically you had I mean. I did find it a little weird that what's his face, the comedian, now is part of the Star Wars universe. Yeah, I but I mean, they put him in a role that he was able to play really well. You know, I don't know. It was. I think they're doing good things with it. I guess I don't need them to be constantly chasing down what Baby Yoda is every single episode, and I hope they let that just very slowly grow instead of like. You know, because I think that's kind of like that'll be their jump the shark moment, right? When like the Baby Yoda thing, where like they determine why it was in that egg to begin with and where it came from, and
yeah,
and
that's the thing. I don't want them to reveal where it came from if they don't get that from the mouth of George Lucas.
Yeah, because
you
they
shut
could go.
your mouth. You don't get to say where Yoda came from or what the name of his speech.
It needs to come from him, and I hope they come up with something unique, and it's not just like the reincarnation of Yoda. Like, you know, I mean, because that's, you know, there's all kinds of speculation that it's Yoda reincarnated as a Force spirit coming through as another basically version of himself, and there's so many different things it could or could not be. I don't want it to be some cheesy lame thing. They really need to make sure it fits with the whole overarching story.
Well, and I think that you and Richard, you mentioned earlier that whole, like, they allowed the series to like breathe with having those two scout troopers just sit there and banter back and forth for like good 3, 4, 5 minutes before IG-11 shows up and kills them both, right? Mm-hmm. And they did it. That was a fantastic bit of storytelling.
That was my favorite scene in the whole series, honestly.
Yeah,
I love that scene.
Like, it's like, well, maybe we should check and make sure it's okay. You just want to see it. That's all you want to do. You know, it was basically two dudes like doing a job and arguing, and just like, you know, just sitting there doing whatever.
The internet was going to explode when he punched the Baby Yoda.
Yeah, and just and then, you know, and like I said, IG-11, a total CGI creation, but totally owned that scene. Like everything that IG-11 did was fantastic, which is weird that like you have basically this totally CGI thing But yeah, I don't know. It is neat. It's super neat, and I hope they can like prolong the magic for another season, and keep it going. But what other characters do you think they'll do things with? Do you think like they'll do something with Kaz or anything like that, or do you think they'll? I mean, I don't know. I just, besides the Obi-Wan thing, I mean, like the fact. So how much money has it made so far? Rise of Skywalker.
They said it was catching up to Last Jedi. The last time I saw, for the amount of time it's been out, it's almost caught up to where the Last Jedi was at the same time.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is now. This was a couple days ago, but they said it was closing in on the Last Jedi numbers for opening weekend.
I'll say this.
Yesterday it was posted the Rise of Skywalker will presumably pass 1 billion worldwide, but the domestic and global totals of Last Jedi are now all but certainly out of reach.
And that's to be expected, because Last Jedi was audience reaction was not the same as critic reaction. I will argue that all day long. Well, anyway, there has been, after the fact, Last Jedi has been reflected upon to be, I mean, and the follow up with Solo. I mean, if you're gonna go and like the people are turning their backs on Star Wars, there was no way Rise of Skywalker was gonna do as well as Last Jedi. No way.
I mean, even in the best of circumstances, it would not have done. It's not. I mean, heck, we make YouTube videos. People never watch to the end.
Yeah. So it's just
I don't understand those people, but they're out there.
Yeah. I don't know. It's fine. I mean, like I said, the best part is that it's done. Like, I mean, when they decide to do episode 10, it's not going to be episode 10. It's going to be the rebirth of Star Wars. It's going to be episode 1. I'm out. There's a clean break. It is
Lance,
over.
you can say that now, but I guarantee, just like you are going to back more Kickstarter crap this month, you're going to go watch that episode. You're not going to.
I am down to one active Kickstarter, and that's Star Wars, which I am.
But I'm telling you now that when the next Star Wars movie's launched, you and your kids are going to be right there.
Oh, I'll go see it. Yeah, because my kids will want to go see it. But
that's not the reason why. You'd go see it even without them.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I'd be hard pressed.
You can't quit Star Wars.
If there was a Mandalorian full-length movie, yes, I would go. No problem. But if it was like, here's this,
you'd go if it was Attack of the Jar Jars just to see it. You would absolutely go.
Oh, if I could come here and take a shit on it, sure. But I mean,
like I said, there's no matter how bad it's gotten, you're still going to be in line on the first weekend to go see it. And same with me. Maybe you. I don't know.
I waited 6, and then we had 3 fan films, one of which was good, 2 were bad. But this whole new trilogy has no reason to exist. It does not do anything to push forward the mythic themes, expand the universe. It basically, at the end of these 3 movies, we are in the literal exact same places we were at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
What I probably would have liked, I mean, which is weird now, and I realize that if they're not going to go on and do Cameron, if they're going to do Poe, Finn, and Rey, the new adventures of whatever, if they're not going to go forward from this point forward, I knowing now what I didn't know before, I would have been much happier if they had just said it's Chewie, Solo, Leo, and Luke all over again, but they're old, right? And we're just gonna do three last movies, and the final defeat of the Empire or something. Because if you're not going to take these new characters and continue to build and grow. I mean, these 3 characters, and
Boyega's already said he's out. He's done.
Yeah, he's done. He said, I have no interest.
For the purposes of any kind of TV show, he was asked about that. Hey, how do you feel about Disney Plus? And he gave a definitive not for that. I didn't know he extended that to movies as well.
No, he said he was done with Star Wars after this movie.
Okay.
He's had enough. He wants to move on with his career.
I would have been so much happier if they just been done.
And to be honest, with
And
all
just-
the ridicule and backlash these guys get from these
Yeah,
movies,
well-
I would imagine most of that cast is probably saying, you know what, I'm done. They're all young. They have a long career ahead of them, and they don't want to get pigeonholed into just being the Star Wars people.
Well, and they got their money, right?
Saying, wow, it's awesome being rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So great to be rich.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's what I think.
I mean, now they can go off and do their artsy fartsy films for base rate, and because they don't need the bank account anymore, and which is why I totally think that J.J. Abrams knew that this movie was going to end it, and he just basically was like, how many of my friends can I get in here, and I can get them a half a point on the gross. And I can basically set up their bank accounts for the rest of their life, because everybody says J.J. Abrams is like he has his people and he has his friends, and like he basically moves mountains for them, and just like to get them into different things. That's
Well, I mean,
total.
you can't blame him
Well, no, why not?
if I were in that position.
I mean, one of the things I read, like everybody always who's the action movie guy, the all Transformer movies guy, Michael Bay.
Michael Bay.
Like they say, well, why do people be in Michael Bay movies? Like, why do they be in them? And I read that basically being in a Michael Bay movie is like having a 3-month vacation, where basically he basically sets up an amusement park and like a giant town where everybody who comes there and works just basically parties for 3 months, and sometimes makes it onto the set and does a few things, and it's just like going to the Bahamas for 3 months, plus you're getting paid millions of dollars. That's why all these like big actors go and be in Michael Bay movies, because it's
Anthony Hopkins in the last Transformers movie.
Yeah, it's just a big giant party, and so and kudos to him to get people to cash in and stuff like that. It's like just basically like somebody said they're going to have 3 more movies for the Star Wars. And then I got in the movie theater, and everybody else took a big giant fart. It was just like, I'm kind of enjoying this, but it just smells funny. Yeah, and I mean, for me, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, that's those are my movies.
Well,
and insert Rogue One in there and insert Solo in there, because they basically are part of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and those. With Rogue One and Solo, those are my Star Wars movies that I'm going to like.
I'll extend that to Mandalorian, since it takes place right after Return of the Jedi, because that also works for me, because it's good.
If we're going to include TV series, yeah, but I'm just talking about movies, because Rogue One remains like, I mean, in a lot of ways, Rogue One is better than Empire for me. I mean, I really like the movie Rogue One. I just think that. They did such a fantastic story.
An opening scene where they park the ship too far away, so they have to walk across a field.
Yeah, I know that is.
Peccadillo.
Yeah, it just
they park really far away.
Yeah, it's just so dumb. Why? I mean, just give me one line of dialogue why they have to do that.
We didn't want to mess with your crops.
What?
We didn't want to mess with your crops or something.
Yeah, just like give me some reason, even if it's a bullshit reason, then at least there's a reason for it to happen. But all movies do that, right? I mean, they and they have their little peccadillos.
I chance every time I see it is in a fight, the villain gets the upper hand and it really has the hero at disadvantage, and then throws him across the room.
Yeah,
don't do that. You will just crush
like
them. It doesn't hurt that thrown across the room.
The list of the 100 things I will do if I'm ever the evil overlord. And
like don't throw Ben Solo over into the chasm. Just force choke him to death right in front of you.
Killing will never be too good for my enemies.
or the Death Star captain. Oh, go terminate them, but I'm going to walk away now so you can have your plot to rescue them.
Which is something I liked about the actor that played like the new admiral or whatever. Just basically turns around and shoots General Hux. Not like, we'll put him in imprison him. No, just shoot him. Done. Moving on.
Well, Richard E. Grant is always a win wherever he appears. I hope he got that happen point as well.
Oh
He's
no,
awesome.
yeah. He basically like I read an interview with him, and he was like, yeah, he basically said, he's like, I didn't have to act much. I just had to be the most evil person in the room every single. Yeah, I just I don't know. I think that like you said, it's just it's a shrug. It's just kind of like, okay, those movies are there.
Yep.
And as much as I hated Last Jedi, I would have much rather, and I hate saying this, I would much rather they had just continued along that premise. Yeah.
Cohesive.
Yeah, it would have made sense. I mean, from the opening crawl, I was like, oh no. You know, I mean, like,
Really?
yeah, just like the dead speak. Just like,
It all comes down to what Rado said earlier. These last 3 movies did nothing to expand the universe. All they did was put us right back to where we thought we were at the end of Return of the Jedi 30-something years ago. And that doesn't make good story. We're back to a world where the Emperor is dead, and there's probably still small bands of imperial establishments that are still taking control of small towns out in the middle of nowhere, and there's remnants of the Empire still scattered across the galaxy, because no matter what, the First Order and whatever is still out there, even though they show other ships blowing them up. They did that at the end of Return, and yet the First Order still came about. So there will be Empire and resistance struggle all throughout the galaxy, probably for forever. So we're no better off than we were when Return of the Jedi ended.
Other than the fact that maybe the ultimate Sith evil is destroyed or something. I don't know.
Is it?
But again, it was 3 movies ago.
Actually worse off.
Is it though?
What was the point of Darth Vader dying if the Emperor came back?
Yeah, nothing.
Not the prophesied
It
one.
completely destroyed
Speaking of
the prophecy of him bringing balance to the Force, because it negated what
prophecies are wrong sometimes.
Well, okay.
I
mean, if you want to be really technical, so Darth Vader kills a clone of Emperor Palpatine, because the real Emperor Palpatine has always been living on this stupid Exegol, and he just sends out his clones to do his dirty work, whatever. So kills this clone of the Emperor to save Luke. Luke then moves forward in his storyline and trains Kylo Ren, who then he decides he needs to kill because in his sleep.
He didn't decide that. The movie is very clear. He could not be more clear. There was no premeditation there at all.
He got drunk off of space juice.
It was the milk.
It was the milk.
Milk.
So
he says for the briefest moment. All right, we don't need to start that again.
But whatever. No.
Yeah. So, I know more. The Mandalorian has told me more about the galaxy far, far away than the new trilogy did.
Absolutely.
Because, like I said, that one little bit that they really pushed in the last couple episodes, they keep referring to the ex-Imperial guys as imps. That tells me more about the state of the galaxy than anything JJ came up with. Rian Johnson did do something. His major theme about the democratization of the Force, which to me is a continuation of the themes that George Lucas was pursuing, would have been interesting, except, of course, that JJ decided, no. It's got to be back to royal bloodlines. That's how.
So whatever happened to the Force Kid broom thing? I guess he just
we should forget about that, because the Force isn't for everybody. It's just for Skywalkers and Palpatines.
Yeah, apparently.
Well, no. Remember Finn? He felt that Rey.
He was just horny.
If J.J. Abrams truly believes, no, wait, look, I'm democratizing the Force too, because Finn's got feelings he does not understand what that was all about then. Oh, but hey, one big fat fuck you, not to Rian Johnson, but to George Lucas himself, during her final X-Men moment, when she gets the voice of all of them, and I know that was the ultimate fan service because cartoon characters, Ahsoka or whatever, was heard in there. Yeah. But they get they get Hayden Christensen to say, "Bring balance to the Force as I once did." No, bad call. No. No.
Speaking
Don't
of
like
Star Wars Rebels, they do give because Anakin had the was training what's her face as the Jedi, and then Ahsoka, and they have like her final battle against Darth Vader. There's that wonderful moment where she actually cuts part of his helmet off, and you can see, and then like and there's no recognition from Anakin whatsoever of any.
Wow.
There's no like oh, I shouldn't kill her. It's just pure seething hatred, and he just redoubles his effort to kill her.
I will have to go watch that on the YouTubes.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like, and she even calls him Anakin, and like it's just like, nope, just doesn't care. There's no redemption for him at that moment. There was, I mean, like I said, it's just 7, 8, and 9 are just kind of like, I don't ever have to watch them again. I never have to watch any of them again.
And I feel the same, and that's really sensitive for me because, as you know, I love Last Jedi. I've seen Last Jedi like 5 times now, but this movie has robbed my joy and enthusiasm for that movie because it just ignored it, and it just rendered, whether it was malicious or not, all the themes, all the progress, all the growth the characters went through. It's like, nope, none of that literally was a dream. You got what you wanted. It wasn't verbatim. Luke didn't come right out and say, whoa, that was a crazy dream. But that's pretty much what you got.
Yeah, I know.
You could not have Last Jedi and just watch Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker, and you wouldn't miss a beat.
No, not really.
It'd be weird for Luke just to pop up and Force Ghost out of the. Well, actually, no, maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it wouldn't be any worse. She just crash lands and says, "I'm bummed. I'm just going to stay here." No, because she talks about him. She knows him. But if for that one little thing, JJ said, "Wow, that was a crazy dream."
So I mean, of the prequels, I find Attack of the Clones to be the worst of those 3. Attack of the Clones.
I that because it was his biggest reach. Because he was very brave and bold. He was trying to meld a love story for the ages and a almost noirish detective movie and a Star Wars. Because that's what Obi-Wan was doing the whole movie. He was going and talking to informants down at the diner and following up leads and uncovering mysteries. And meanwhile, back on Naboo, we're having the Merchant Ivory Pride and Prejudice love story. So that's cool. That's bold. And again, he just needed some help writing to punch up that dialogue and just clean up some stuff. But the bones of it, I think, are really cool and showing how Star Wars just doesn't have to regurgitate the same stuff over and over again.
Oh! You just made me think of something else. That final duel between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan in the Rebels. Like when Darth Maul ignites his lightsaber and they're getting ready to fight and they're getting ready. You see, like Obi-Wan does the thing where he puts his 2 fingers out. Like he always has those, like he had that one style of fighting where he would have his fingers out. That you see him fight. And then before Darth Maul makes his move, he stops and then he goes into like classic samurai pose, which is how Qui-Gon fought. Oh. And so they actually he baits Darth Maul into pulling off the move that he used to kill Qui-Gon, but he knows that he's going to go for it. And it's like the battle lasts like a half a second. It's like it's the people behind Star Wars Rebels really did their homework, and
they had George in the room.
Yeah, and
everything.
If you're an Obi-Wan fan, like they really do Obi-Wan the character a great service in Star Wars Rebels.
Yep, I should really go watch those.
Yeah, I mean,
it's another good TV to watch.
And Obi-Wan, I mean, I remember the Star Wars game where you fight you fight the TIE fighters and then you go into the trench and then later you go fight the towers and you mean the original arcade game? Yeah, the original arcade game
with the vector graphics.
Yeah. Great game, fabulous.
Oh yeah.
One of the I remember there was always some guy, I never knew who it was, who was so good at that game. Like he had the top the top 4 scores.
Okay.
And he always signed it Obi-Wan Kenobi. Was like the top 4 scores.
So he was purposely getting scores so he could do that.
Purposely getting scores, and like he was he must have been some like legendary like guy at the Pirate's Den, my arcade, the place there. But yeah, he was Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I was like,
The Force will be with him always.
and the thing is that if you go back to it, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, first of all, he's got one of the coolest names in Star Wars lore. I mean, it's just great. But the other thing that I really like about it is the fact that I mean, he has a fabulous storyline as well. I mean, his storyline in 1, 2, and 3, and then his appearance in 4. I mean, like before he sacrifices himself. I mean, that's a really good story. Even not counting in the rebels and everything like that. I mean, it's really good. I mean, he's one of the most dynamic characters that Star Wars ever produced. It's too bad that Alec Guinness basically was just like, yeah, I have no idea what this movie's about.
Grumpy old man.
Mm-hmm.
Like from what I understand, Star Wars was basically just a paycheck for him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and wasn't he nominated for Best Supporting Actor for it?
Really? Wow.
I think so. Yeah, I'm almost certain that. Oh, we lost Richard. Something happened.
He started typing. He must have accidentally clicked his window open when he went to go look for the search.
Well, I'll give him a few moments to come back on, but I think we should probably wrap it up pretty soon here.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to go to bed. It's 1:30 is my cutoff time.
Back to work tomorrow.
Nope, not for me. But my wife's got to travel tomorrow, so I got the kids and the dogs have to get out, and so I'll have to be up early, even though I don't have to work. I go back to work Monday.
Yeah. I think he might not be just coming back at all, but we'll give him. Well, I'll give him. It's 12:16. I'll give him till 12:20. So yeah, I mean, like I said, 7, 8, 9. Just I could just erase them from my mind, and I wouldn't care. I mean, I there were some cool moments, but I just didn't need it as far as
I just never really got behind the new characters, and it's not anything to do with it's not their fault. I think the acting was good. I think Driver's acting was good. I think the character that played Rey, she did was good. The acting wasn't the problem, which I think was part of the problem in the prequels, was that like you said, the dialogue was bad, and maybe Hayden Christensen wasn't the best actor. He's
actually a very good actor too. There are other films you can see him in where he
just wasn't good in those films.
He did not get the correct direction. He did not get good dialogue, and the actors were not allowed to improvise or try to use their skills at all. They had to read what was on the page.
Yeah. So I think the problem with the sequels versus
they were not Harrison Ford saying, "Yeah, George, whatever. I'll say it the way I say it."
Yeah. I think the sequel problem was just there wasn't enough moments that made this sequel stand apart. They were just like 7 was basically 4 and 9 was basically 6. And 8
is basically Empire as well. It's pretty beat for beat Empire also, but it does a lot more within those constraints.
I'll say, well, God, I had something funny I was going to say, and I got to remember what I was going to say. Oh, have you seen Mark Hamill was on and he was talking about plot holes or something like that, and he mentioned that when he was doing New Hope, or what was Star Wars at the time, he was doing a scene, and he was like, "Hey George, I was just in the trash compactor and I was sucked underneath the water, and this is we just got out of there. My hair should be wet, I should." And then
Harrison Ford says
something like, and
"This ain't that kind of movie, kid.
This ain't that kind of movie, kid."
Which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it was and I mean, And when you read about the whole thing of why Harrison Ford got the role, I mean, he was building George Lucas's deck.
Yeah.
Like, and it was just like, and they had to have him come in and do stand-in lines because he had been in American Graffiti.
Yeah.
And
no lines, I believe, right? He's just the cool guy driving around in the car.
Yeah, he's just the cool guy, you know. And but then then he just basically it came down to him and Nick Nolte were like the two people.
Wasn't Christopher Walken in there too?
Yeah, he was, but I guess from what I've read, it was like him and Nick Nolte and Nick.
Wow.
And he went with Harrison Ford. Can you imagine Nick Nolte with like a cigarette, Han Solo with like a smoking cigarettes and.
I'm not saying it'd be bad; it would just be different.
Well, no, and then now obviously they and then now Nick Nolte finally gets a role, right?
There you go. Yes,
Yeah.
He's finally made it.
He finally got his shot.
And he got a very good role. He has spoken.
Yes, yeah, and that was a very good. I do like the creation of that Ugnaught, and like basically like here are these things that we see in this kind of throwaway scene in Empire Strikes Back, where they basically are just throwing the parts of C-3PO around, and Chewie is like arguing with them, and so it's kind of a throwaway moment in there. But here we have these Ugnaughts, and you kind of get a background of the story of like of he was basically a slave, but he earned his freedom, and now like he was like basically just wasn't he just didn't have like and how he's like now he's able to live his life for himself. And I thought that was like a very 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 neat like moment or whatever, where like they gave the Ugnaughts, if that's what the Ugnaughts lives were like, subservient creatures or whatever, I like that. I like that they built off of that. Keith just popped in and said Alec Guinness would always pay the bill when dining with friends, and when they protest, he would just say Star Wars, because he did get paid on spec. He like basically it was a constant paycheck for him. Yeah. So
I just think what could have been. I mean, if they had been interested in telling an original story, I mean, I would assume 7 should be okay. It's 30 years, and the New Republic is struggling to maintain control, and there's turmoil from within. I mean, what's it? Captain America: Winter Soldier is a political thriller set in the Marvel universe.
Mm-hmm.
Why couldn't we have gotten that in the Star Wars universe? There's so many things that could be done. You were talking about this earlier. It's such a big, broad universe. There's so much they could do instead of just repeat the beats for beats. But that's what I've been complaining about for years. And the movie doesn't really deserve that much attention, I don't think.
You mentioned Winter Soldier. I mean, and Winter Soldier, my favorite moment in the entirety of Winter Soldier, and like it's the line still sticks with me every single time, like is Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, and they're fighting the final battle, and he says, he's like, it's like he didn't even know he was doing it. He goes, I don't care, he killed my mom.
Yeah.
I was just like, that is like that line was just like everybody always says, oh, I was your friend too, or whatever. It's just kind of like, no, it's just like, because if you ask any guy, it's like any boy is a mama's boy. I mean, pretty much. And it's just like, I don't care, he killed my mom, not his dad, because he killed his dad too, but he's like, I don't care, he killed my mom. Just like, and like it was just that one line, it has so much gravity for me.
Well, that's the problem with the new Star Wars movies in comparison. I think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has spoiled me now for anything that they're going to be able to do, because there's so many moments from so many films, and there's not a day that goes by that if someone said, let's watch Captain America First Avenger or Winter Soldier or Black Panther, that I would say, no, I don't really. I've seen them enough, I'm good. But I've seen all 3 of the new Star Wars movies at least twice each, and I'm good. Like I'm not saying I won't ever see them again. Because if my kids want to watch them, I'll certainly sit down and watch them and play on my iPhone or something. But that need to have to watch those movies again. But I'll sit down right now and watch Endgame or Infinity Wars or.
See, I would watch Infinity. I've only seen Endgame once, and I don't.
You're
have any,
weird.
Yeah, I don't have any need to watch Endgame again.
You're so weird.
Wow.
You're dead inside.
That it's a long movie. I get it, right? It's 3.5 hours or 3 hours long or
it
something.
flies by. I don't even know.
But
sometimes.
it's so good. I would watch it. I'd watch it 10 more times.
See, I felt Endgame was. I mean, okay, the Ultron Avengers movie was as well for me, but the Ultron Avengers movie for me had more powerful moments for me than Endgame. I mean, Endgame was there and it was cool, but it also was like it was so many moments of, wow, why are they being so dumb? You know, and just like, you know, I
all right, let's go through it. Start nitpicking.
No.
To my death, to my dying breath. We can finally put Last Jedi to bed, and we can argue about Endgame now.
We can talk
movies.
Endgame.
I'm ready to go war for that one.
No, I think Endgame is a good movie. I mean, unlike like whereas Last Jedi, I just think it's a horrible movie. And
When are they done?
But okay, but Endgame I think is still a good movie. But I absolutely hate the fact.
Yeah.
Hate the fact there's Star-Lord just becomes an idiot. Hey, just stop.
That's
we have him
Infinity War.
beat.
That's Infinity War, not Endgame.
Is that? Oh, I thought for sure that was Endgame. Okay,
No, it's Infinity War.
I'll have to go back and maybe I'll have to watch it.
But I understand what you're saying, and that can be frustrating, but it is entirely earned because if there's one thing we've learned
He is an
from
idiot.
all of the Guardians of the Galaxy films is that Star-Lord is an idiot. And he does stupid, impetuous, cocky, half-baked ideas. And that's completely within the character that they have developed over 3 movies, basically.
And the guy had a dance-off with Ronan, for God's sakes. You don't think he's stupid enough to lose his cool over his girlfriend dying?
That is like really bothersome for me as well. So, I mean, it's just, if you see, the weird thing is, and I'll say this, is that Marvel movies we give them the benefit of the doubt for those things, like him doing the like, ooh, child thinks you need easy. You know, it starts going and, you know, oh, ha, 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 because we like they bridge a connection between us, the viewers, and these characters. They give us these moments where we're like I absolutely love the line in I can't even think Drax when he says, "Oh no, you are hideous, but you are lucky you are hideous." You know, beautiful people never know if somebody loves them or not. You know, it just like, and I was like, that's a great line. I mean, that's just a fantastic line from Drax in that moment. You know, and it's just like, so you have these humanizing moments, and so we never really had. Tell me a single moment where Rey, Poe, or Finn ever was able to just grab the audience by the heart and connect with the people no, we were too busy watching space battles and we just couldn't care. We had no moments where the characters could just, okay, you know what, we're gonna let this scene breathe and we're gonna let you feel what's going
That's
on.
because they never had
Force
proper
Awakens
direction.
has it only for the briefest moments right at the very beginning when Rey is introduced. And we
Yeah.
spend time with her in her day-to-day life. And
Yeah,
that was a
that's
very
true.
strong introduction for her, and the rest of the movie let it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, her alone eating her Stay Puft makeup dinner at the foot of a fallen ATS.
Scrapping Star Destroyers to survive.
Those were amazing, and the movie could have done with a lot more of that and a lot less of what it did do.
Yeah, I mean,
and no other character got that treatment. Finn should have had that. Finn is a potentially amazing character because of his, he literally, he's a slave and he runs away. But he never had a moment of reflection to get out, I had to kill dozens of my fellow kidnapped children. I had to do that. And that should have weighed so heavy on him. And it didn't. And they did nothing.
It was just like, yeah, whatever.
Yep.
Haha, I'm glad I killed you.
Yep.
Just like, yeah.
Woo! I believe.
Yeah. I'm good at this. I'm good at shooting this blaster and killing these other.
I'm good at killing my fellow companions who are also kidnapped from their families as small children and indoctrinated into this cult.
Yeah.
I mean, that was so much potential. And I think Kylo had a little bit at the beginning too, as we were introducing his struggles to not get pulled back to the light side. And him admitting that was like, I was so full of promise. And then the last act happened where, oh my God, they really don't care. They are just spoon feeding us nostalgia here.
I think that I think that that's why the Marvel movies, like, I mean, they
one more. I'm sorry, just to answer your question.
Go ahead.
One line. I was trying to think, where are those lines that Marvel movie gives us so many that just resonate? There's one line in the whole new trilogy and that is from Last Jedi, of course. Let the past die. Burn it if you have to. He delivers that line so well. And I mean, that moment is really powerful where he is trying to reach out to her and saying, look, we can just put all this behind us. You know, it's the new equivalent of join me and we'll rule the galaxy as father and son. But that was a powerful moment to me because he sold it so well.
And J.J. Abrams listened to it.
Yes, he took that advice.
Yeah. Well, no, and I would say the 3PO moment of I would just want to take one last look at my friends, and then we shit on it 5 minutes later.
Why? Who thought that was a good idea?
I mean, as much as it would have sucked for Chewie to die, like letting Chewie die, like just like
and then let Rey live with it.
Oh,
let that become the cornerstone of her doubt that could lead to her fall.
And what if let Rey turn and let let Rey be the villain and let
you know what?
And
sometimes people don't get redeemed.
Yeah. And let Ben be the one, you know, like
the rise of the Skywalker, the true Skywalker.
Because you know, he is a Skywalker. You know, I mean, I think I would have probably liked that better, but there's no way. I mean, especially after everybody, like, you know, just hated the fact that what's her face was the bad person in Game of Thrones in the end. I mean, it's like there's no way they would have compared those two things all day long and just said, well, this is dumb. And maybe that was their idea, and then they saw how
there's no way they were going to ever let Rey be mad. They've been trying to push the empowerment of women through Disney for a long time now, and she is their poster child for empowerment, and there's no way they were going to have her be evil. It was never. They hint at it a little bit just to give you that doubt, but there was no way. She's looked up to. She's a Disney princess in all essence now. There was no way they were going to make her be evil. That was never in the cards. I don't think, no matter how good a story it could have been, that was never going to happen. And it probably shouldn't be, because this again, these movies aren't for us. These movies are for kids. And if a ton of little girls look up to her and see her.
I have no problem with a SJW agenda. I had no problem with the lesbian kiss at the end. I thought, hey, that's great.
Well, who would have a problem with that?
Honestly, unfortunately, it has to be a big deal to put it in, so that enough times it gets thrown in, it's not a big deal anymore. But yeah, do it. Use your platform. That's great.
I'll say this. Something I did have a problem with that I hate calling it SJW because I think that's a negative connotation. Yeah,
it shouldn't be, because
it shouldn't be
a warrior for justice. That's a good thing.
It is a good thing. So I'll use this. Endgame. I absolutely despise the fact that they had to just basically put 5 minutes. Not that they had to show like the women doing really well and like doing the part to like get Spider-Man through or whatever. I don't care about that. The fact that they had to make it just basically like, do you get it? Do you get it? Do you get it? It's like, couldn't you have like organically put that in that movie? Like in some way, like just have it happen without like this last movie. They have the lesbian kiss. They, you know, same-sex kiss, whoever. They just have it. They didn't draw. They didn't say. They didn't have big arrows pointing at it, saying, "Look what we're doing. We understand." They didn't do anything. They just had it happen. And
the audience I saw it with loved it.
Yeah.
There was much woohoos and hipping and hollering.
Well, yeah, but did they have to set it up and like make it make a big deal of it? No, they
I
didn't.
think yes, they should, because it's a celebration of
But
our women, which our cinema has completely ignored for its entire 100 years of existence.
Exactly. But the thing is
And so it's a course correction.
They did it without a like, hey, audience, pay attention to this moment. They did it, and it's organically part of it, and it is like totally normal, where we should expect to see that in our daily lives, and we should not be surprised by it at all. And that's the way it was presented in this movie.
Yes. I do think yes. I think at this point in the evolution of our society, these things do have to have a spotlight shined on them. And and eventually we'll get to the point where it didn't. My only problem with that moment is a logical nitpick. Captain Marvel didn't need their help.
Nope.
That's the only issue there. It would have been better suited if it had been somebody else. Plus, Black Widow couldn't be there. Very sad. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Too soon.
Yeah.
That's the next movie I'm seeing in the theater.
And then also,
I'll be there at opening day.
The problem with that one also for me was like they show all the women superheroes, right? And they're gonna battle through this and get Spider-Man to this point or whatever. And Mantis is there. What is she gonna do? Is she gonna? Could you stand still for a few?
You're asleep. She's gotten better at it.
It was just kind of like she's there, but yeah, she's not gonna do anything. Yeah, just like yeah, and also like, how about the fact that like the whole possible romance between her and Drax, they're doing the slow boil on that. I like that they could easily have just been like, okay, now they're together or whatever. But the fact that they're making Drax more human and they're kind of bringing her in, and and maybe that'll never pay off, but I mean, like, the fans I think expect it. But no, I just Marvel movies are good. There's stinkers. Thor 2 is kind of like eh. Thor 1 is even kind of eh.
No.
But man, Thor Ragnarok.
You shut your hairy mouth.
Hey,
Barry.
Thor Ragnarok
in French.
Easily.
En français.
Bonjour, bonne année, bonne santé, bonne fête.
I saw you in a video doing that for like the whole video. Drove me nuts. It was freaky.
What was that?
Talking Frenchy talk.
It is freaky.
No.
How can you talk French so good?
It's not good. Trust me.
Is it terrible? It sounds great to me.
It's very hello. The policeman. I was winking past the window. No, pissing by the window. No.
So is everybody embarrassed for you when you do it? And they say, oh, really? You should just speak English.
I should.
We will humor you for this, but please stop.
No. But
or do they appreciate you?
Happy New Year, everyone.
Hello.
Happy New Year to you, Barry.
Yeah.
Have
you seen Rise of Skywalker?
Ooh.
No, not going to either.
Oh, all right.
Black Widow looks amazing.
Black Widow does look amazing.
I mean, I hope they do Red Guardian well. He was one of my favorite characters back when when the Ruskies were the evil ones. I love the Red Guardian Captain America.
It's who you modeled yourself on.
Well, no, I just the Red Guardian was just one of my absolute favorite.
You've gotten fat.
Yeah, so I mean, I think they'll do that movie well. I was very upset that Crimson Dynamo isn't going to be in this, which is also one of my favorite like 80s villains as well.
An Iron Man villain, isn't it?
What?
That's an Iron Man villain, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it was like since you're doing all these Russian things.
Well, what do you want to bet they're going to drop a hint that there's going to be in the background, in a scene, so they can circle back to it when they, when they start Ironheart, the series, or something like that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Or they're saving him for the Captain and Winter Soldier series.
Maybe.
Could be.
That'd be a good. That's what they got to do.
So you guys all
Yeah, all
still
the
in on the
figures.
Marvel
You gotta have
universe?
right?
Oh yeah.
Because I am out after Endgame. Endgame's finished, and I am very content that they've wrapped up everything.
That
no.
is a perfect place to end.
Yeah, but you
If
guys
there's
are
never
still
been a
in?
Marvel movie, I'd be totally happy.
I will
and
be there day
satisfied.
1 for Black Widow. I will be there for Doctor Strange 2, Black Panther 2. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm all in. They
Yep.
can suck me in for another 10 movies. I'm good with that.
Okay.
So
And I consider-
I just looked up Crimson Dynamo. In the Marvel MCU incarnation of Anton Vanko, which was one of the people that was the Crimson Dynamo, appears as a younger man in Agent Carter. So, they've already laid the groundwork, possibly.
Of course they have, because they know what the frig they're doing.
Well,
Yeah, let's
except they tend to ignore the TV, unfortunately.
Yeah.
To quote the wolf in let's not start sucking each other's dicks just fine. The thing is that it's the MCU's had their mistakes. Let's not
Yeah, but they're not nearly as bad as what the Star
the
Wars
worst
Cinematic
movie
Universe has had.
is still an okay movie. I don't know that I agree that Thor 2 is a stinker. It was a
No.
stinker compared to everything else,
Yeah.
but it's still a perfectly okay adventure.
It's like
movie.
eating the
with
worst
very
piece of bacon out of the pack. It's still freaking bacon.
Yeah. Unless we forget, Thor 2 Dark World was written by the guys who ended up writing Infinity War and Endgame, which is why and actually Dark World gets retroactively much better because of Endgame, because it has so much more emotional resonance because they were able to circle back in, the death of Frigga and all that. And Thor discovering that he is still worthy, which talk about a moment that gives me chills. He reaches his hands out and he waits for it, and it comes, I'm still worthy. I mean, he sells that so well. I mean, Endgame is nothing but wall-to-wall, give me shiver quotes.
Yeah.
On
And
your
surprises.
left.
I would have enjoyed
I
the
knew
adventures
it.
of Fat Thor.
Let me go.
more.
I mean, it's just, oh my God, it's just insane. Everything with Tony and his dad. Oh man.
Yep. That was good. I would say that the moment when Captain America is able to I mean, there's definitely good moments. There's good.
Oh come on! What even comes close to him wielding Mjolnir?
Mjolnir.
That was pretty awesome.
But I knew that was coming because it happened in the comics. I mean, and also they did a great foreshadow moment where he grabbed it and it clinks, and Thor's like, "What?" I enjoyed that. The Endgame's got good moments, but like I said, it's just
You
too
still didn't
much.
say what the dumb parts were. That people are being dumb, and I'm ready to fight.
I got to go back and watch it. It just
You need to
bugged
watch
me.
it so we can fight.
Okay, fine.
The other thing that's dumb is Nebula never tells Natasha and Hawkeye about the fact that someone's got to die so they can get the Soul Stone. So it's in case they get there and then they figure it out.
Did Nebula know that?
Yeah, she knew that. She said that he killed my sister.
Yeah, but he didn't know. She didn't know that he killed her sister for that.
That was required. She didn't know it was as a part of a blood sacrifice. She just knows. They
She
were
may
together.
have just thought that
Thanos
got what he wanted and then killed her off because he didn't need her anymore.
It's not like he said, well, let me tell you the story of the time I went and talked to Red Skull. Here's what happened beat by beat, Nebula, my new favorite daughter. I mean, all she knows is 2 went in, 1 came out. And I wouldn't be surprised if she did warn them that, but that didn't warrant getting a whole scene. That they knew they were walking into trouble, especially since, thank God, they didn't use the original filmed version of it, where a bunch of Thanos' goons showed up, and the 2 of them had to fight them off, while also still seeing who would make the ultimate sacrifice. Apparently that was like a whole different take that sounds awful compared to what they ultimately did, which was so beautiful.
It was much more emotional the way they did it. It was more impactful.
Oh man, I love Endgame so much.
I watched it.
I just want to fight about it. I'm so sick and tired of fighting about Last Jedi. This is very exciting. I'm looking forward to something new that I'm actually really passionate about.
Well, let me
I've always liked it.
I will make myself watch it again. And then,
I will watch it as well, so we can talk about this next week.
I don't need to watch it. I'll recite the whole thing for you line by line right now.
Talking about things which you're really excited about. I just watched last night the new version of War of the Worlds with Rafe Spall.
Which one? The modern day one or the Victorian era one?
The Victorian era one with Rafe Spall.
Okay. What is with that? They're both on the air at the same time.
Is there? There's another one, is there?
Yes, there's another one that's actually the same story but set in the modern day, airing at the same time. The Victorian one, I believe, is just a 3-part miniseries, and the other one is like an ongoing series.
The Victorian one was the one that I was really excited about.
It's on my list.
Some nice moments.
TV.
It's remixed the story. It made it interesting. But I was ultimately disappointed by its juxtaposition, and it was
just talked me out of watching it then. I will take any excuse not to watch a new TV show.
Well, don't watch it then. It's only 3 episodes. It's only 3 hours.
That's 3 hours that I could be spending on the new season of The Expanse, or the German miniseries 8 Days, or Acht Tage, which I'm very excited about. Haven't finished Primal. Still haven't finished freaking second season of Cobra Kai, which is embarrassing.
Why? I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm only halfway through Black Monday, and I haven't even watched the first season of The Americans, but I want to watch the whole thing. I'm only about halfway through the last season of *Halt and Catch Fire*. And
I'll say I'm not going to say any spoilers about The Witcher.
Oh, I watched half of the first episode and then turned it off.
Okay. Well, if
as far as I'm concerned,
no, I'm not going to say anything because it's to you. But if you watch it all, it'll pay off for you. I'll say that. But or maybe it won't. I don't know. But I mean, I definitely was watching this, and I was like, and there were many times I would have to pause it and turn to my wife and say, okay, this is why this happens right now. If you are not a person that has read the novels, you are going to be so effing lost in this thing, because there is like very little exposition for things that are happening. Like, I mean, they drop you right into this world and they give you barely any background of what's going on. I mean, it's just like, boom, here we are, he's fighting monsters, and you're just kind of like, oh, okay. And why do people hate the elves? Why don't people like these people? Why don't you're just like, and I would be like, my wife was just like, okay, pause. This is what's going on, because you haven't read the Witcher novels. And I've read the Witcher novels, and they're really, really good.
Well, have you finished the season?
Yeah, I finished the whole thing.
So you're saying that they're not just doing hey, let's throw you into this world and then reveal it to you slowly, step by step.
No. If you get through all 8 episodes, they eventually give you the background, and you feel like you're up to date and you know what's going on. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like, I don't want to say anything, but I mean, they throw these characters in there, and I'm like, oh, that's that person. Oh, that's that person. I know everything about them because I read the books, and it's just like, and I don't know if in the books they just dropped them in, but no, obviously books are allowed because of, the fact that you have narratives and you can hear people's thoughts and things like that. You learn more. But I mean, it has, like The Witcher now, because of the fact that it was not written in English to begin with, and it has a more mass broad appeal. It is now like it surpassed Mandalorian for like the most watched.
Are you serious?
Show that like streaming show.
Oh my god! Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, jonesing for some Game of Thrones, I guess.
Well, it's plus Witcher 3 was like one of the
video game
biggest video games
ever.
And Witcher 3 was a very, very good video game. Chad just said I watched 2 episodes of The Witcher, and I went, what the fuck is going on? And I mean, there is a moment in Witcher 3 where like, God, there's basically a moment where magical things happen, right? And you're like, why did that? What is going on? What is this place where these people that are casting these spells, they're doing these things, and why is this person doing that, and why are they now telling this one person to do this? And it's like, it makes literally no sense whatsoever if you haven't read the books. And I was just like, okay, pause it. I'll explain this to you now. And she's like, oh, that makes sense. And I'm like, yeah. And that's like in like the second episode.
So are you suggesting that somebody who would not have somebody who can pause, who will ultimately get all the answers if they stick all the way through, that they will not have experience?
If you stick through it, I think you'll be okay. I mean, I don't have the ability to watch it.
It's hard for you to say because
without knowing
see it through your eyes. Yeah.
But I mean, I think they're doing a good job. I mean, I think Henry Cavill is doing Cavill. I don't know how you pronounce his last name. I mean, he's doing a good job, and he doesn't have to do a lot. He just has to grunt and say a few words. Scowl. Yeah. Wear some weird contact lenses, and yeah, there you go. But I mean, I'm glad. I'm super glad that nerdy stuff is so in.
Can't complain. Mm-hmm.
As you said one time, we are in the renaissance of nerddom right now. And getting our stuff mass market and
yeah, I mean, you compare what we grew up with.
Oh yeah, I mean, like you had
Super Friends.
Well, and then you had to basically wait forever for you had to go through so much schlock for every Dragon Slayer movie that came out that was just fantastic, and then it was just like, oh, and here's these other movies about fantasies, and you're just like, ugh, this isn't good at all. Willow, for all its attempts, Willow was not a very good movie. Even as a kid, I was like, this is so dumb. A giant snowball, really? Just that's what you used to defeat the evil guy. Don't even get me started on
George Lucas. What can I say?
Yeah, I just watched. I had my daughter watch Dragon Slayer with me the other day, and I mean, I love that movie. That movie is so good. It's telling the story of magic leaving the world, and you just not many on the wizard, basically realizing that his time is coming to an end. So good.
Yeah, you wonder how a mass market major motion picture like that could have been made all that time ago.
Well, yeah.
I mean, who supported that? Who would take a chance on that at that time?
Yeah. Vermithrax pejorative. What a wonderful name for a dragon, too. It's just such a wonder. Vermithrax pejorative. Ah, so good. I gotta go watch it again. It's on Amazon. I believe it's Amazon streaming. You can watch Dragon Slayer anytime you want right now.
All right. I'm out. It's almost 2 a.m. I gotta get sleep.
All righty. Bye-bye.
I'll see you all next week.
See ya. I think we're gonna call it so happy New Year, everybody. I hope everybody is
decade.
Yeah. Hope everybody's had all your awesome whatever. Hope you got everything you wanted for Christmas and that you have your New Year's resolutions firmly in place and all that. Yeah. So I don't have anything else. Anybody else got any words of wisdom before I hit the old end broadcast?
Nope. I'm hitting the red button now. Bye.
Bye. I'm gonna watch Endgame and we'll next week maybe we can argue about it. I'll rewatch it for you.
I will not, because I don't need to.
And I will take my notes as
all right. I'm excited
as I watch it. Yeah, I don't know. It was good. It just wasn't amazing.
Oh, it's amazing.
All right, everybody.
All right.
Yes.
Be good to each other.
Indeed.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.